Seba mulir macebo que no vido nada de bueno. Yo juraba y decía que no animas el amor. Me causante una morena que a mí me hizo inflamar. Concha mía, chiche de mi cabeza. La luna me se oscureció, la mar se hizo preta. Se va a morir un mancebo que no vido nada de bueno. מזמור לדוד המלך הרואה בשושנים הפורט על מיתרים בשירה וניגונים. ודוד יפה עיניים הוא רואה בשושנים, ודוד יפה עיניים הוא רואה בשושנים, היכה שאול בענפיו ודוד ברבבותיו בן אישה חייבת הים. היכה שאול בענפיו ודוד ברבבותיו בן אישה חייבת הים. ודוד יפה עיניים הוא רואה בשושנים, ודוד יפה עיניים הוא רואה בשושנים, היכה שאול בענפיו ודוד ברבבותיו בן אישה חייבת הים. היכה שאול בענפיו ודוד ברבבותיו בן אישה חייבת הים. ודוד יפה עיניים הוא רואה בשושנים, ודוד יפה עיניים הוא רואה בשושנים, היכה שאול בעל עפר, ודוד ברבבותיו, ונישא חי וקיים. ודוד יפה עיניים הוא רואה בשושנים, היכה שאול בעל עפר, ודוד ברבבותיו, ונישא חי וקיים, ונישא חי וקיים, ונישא חי וקיים.
אילו יהודי היה יודע כמה שהשם רחמן, אילו יהודי היה יודע כמה שהשם רחמן, היה שמח, שמח ורוקד, שמח ורוקד כל 70 שנה. היה שמח, שמח ורוקד, שמח ורוקד עם כל הנשמה. כולם יחד, תודה רבה, תודה רבה, תודה רבה להשם יתברך. תודה רבה, תודה רבה, תודה רבה לך אבא. אילו יהודי היה יודע כמה שהשם רחמן, אילו יהודי היה יודע כמה שהשם רחמן, אילו יהודי היה יודע כמה שהשם רחמן, אילו יהודי היה יודע כמה שהשם רחמן. היה שמח, שמח ורוקד, שמח ורוקד כל 70 שנה. היה שמח, שמח ורוקד, שמח ורוקד עם כל הנשמה. כולם יחד, תודה רבה, תודה רבה, תודה רבה להשם יתברך. תודה רבה, תודה רבה, תודה רבה לך אבא. אילו יהודי היה יודע מה זה הציצית, אילו יהודי היה יודע מה זה התפילין, אילו יהודי היה יודע מה זה הציצית, אילו יהודי היה יודע מה זה התפילין. היה שמח, שמח ורוקד, שמח ורוקד כל 70 שנה. היה שמח, שמח ורוקד, שמח ורוקד עם כל הנשמה. וכולם יחד, תודה רבה, תודה רבה, תודה רבה להשם יתברך. תודה רבה, תודה רבה, תודה רבה לך אבא. אילו יהודי היה יודע מה זאת התורה, אילו יהודי היה יודע מה זה המצוות, אילו יהודי היה יודע מה זאת התורה, אילו יהודי היה יודע מה זה המצוות. היה שמח, שמח ורוקד, שמח ורוקד כל 70 שנה. היה שמח, שמח ורוקד, שמח ורוקד כל 70 שנה. תודה רבה, תודה רבה, תודה רבה להשם יתברך. תודה רבה, תודה רבה, תודה רבה לך אבא. תודה רבה, תודה רבה, תודה רבה להשם יתברך. תודה רבה, תודה רבה, תודה רבה לך אבא.
Gadol Elohai, shiru ki gadol Elohai, kol echad yireh ki gadol Elohai. Shem meyal kol shem, otcha ra'ui lehareh. Libi yashir ki gadol Elohai. Shem meyal kol shem, otcha ra'ui lehareh. Libi yashir ki gadol Elohai. How great is our God? Sing with me, how great is our God?
Okay, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Let me deal with the music here.
How great is our God?
Okay, let's just cut that off. Shabbat Shalom, everybody, and welcome to this week's study. We are in Parashat Vayera. Let me get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Let's put that sucker up. Okay, there we go. Now it looks all official. And it makes me look like I know what I'm talking about. Okay, so Shabbat Shalom, everybody. How are you all doing? Hope you're all having a nice Shabbat. We're going to do things a little bit differently, I think, this week, and maybe I'll try it out this week and see how it works. Shabbat Shalom, Christian. And I'll try it out and see how it works in following weeks, which is this. A lot of times we don't get to the end of the Parsha. Totally my fault. Guilty as charged. But that's the way it is. I don't want to rush. I want to sit and I want to analyze things. But so, and sometimes, if you've joined the studies before that, I'll stop towards the end of the study and go into what I call express mode, where I just read through the verses very quickly with minimal commentary. And then usually we get near the end, but we never get to the end. So I'd like to actually reverse the process this time. And what I'd like to do is read the Parsha first, and then afterwards we can go read through the whole thing quickly, and then afterwards we can go back and we can analyze it. So I assume reading through it will take anywhere, probably 20 minutes, half an hour, something like that. And then we can go back, pick out the parts that we want to focus on, and analyze it. The fact of the matter is that the beginning of Genesis goes, the whole Torah goes so quickly, but it really goes fast. We're already going to be getting past Abraham in this Parsha, and it just seems like yesterday we just started, with Genesis, and there's so much to say. These are so packed with information that it's a shame, but that's the way it is. That's the way it is. And I think this week I might start doing weekday studies. I will update everybody about that. I really would like to. Given the situation of the war in Israel, I really feel the need to study and teach Torah more than ever. So I will give people updates regarding that. So let's start off with a little bit of a monologue. So we all know what's going on in Israel. Obviously, God, why is this battery going down so damn quickly? Low power mode on. I don't even know why. Using significant energy. Google Chrome. Yeah, I'll bet it is. Battery settings. Hold on a second here. Give me 1 second. Battery health normal? I don't think so. All right, whatever. So anywho, yeah, we all know what's going on in Israel. and it's I can only repeat the things that I've said in the past, which are that this is all meant, everything bad that happens to us as individuals, everything bad that happens to us as a nation, as the nation of Israel, is meant to teach us a lesson. It's meant to show us that we were doing something wrong and to cause us to return and to Yahweh, to repent, if you want to use that word. Although I don't really know if I like the word repent, to return to Yahweh and to understand that we need to do something different, because obviously any kind of pain or trouble we get into in our own lives is also meant to do that. It's meant to teach us that we're doing something wrong. We're meant to draw lessons from it, and we're meant to improve ourselves, no matter what that is. So, as the nation of Israel, what happened to us in Israel is meant to be the same kind of thing. It's a horrible, horrible, horrible price to pay. I mean, a mini Holocaust, basically, with these vicious, subhuman creatures. It's almost like watching. If it weren't real, it would be like watching some kind of like horror movie or something like that. These. This event, as horrible as it was meant to teach us a lesson that obviously we're doing something wrong. And yes, it's a horrible, horrible price to pay. I don't even want to go over all of the atrocities that happened on that day, on October 7th in South Israel. You can look it up. It's just disgusting, horrible, shocking things that will make you not sleep at night if you see them or read about them or hear about them. And those lives are lost. That is a shame. It's a shame that those children, young adults, middle-aged people, older people will never anymore be sons, daughters, grandmothers, grandparents, parents, brothers, sisters. Their lives are erased, as is the lives of the soldiers, the Israeli soldiers that are going into Gaza. Their lives are also being erased. The sad thing is that all of this is for nothing. We owned Gaza. We controlled Gaza from whenever, I don't remember, I guess 67 is when we took it over, through the quote unquote disengagement, basically the evacuation, basically the fleeing in 2005. I was, very active against that in Israel at the time. And so every single death of every soldier that is going into is going into Gaza is completely unnecessary, because they never should have to go. We should never have to go in there and take over Gaza again. We should not have had to go in there and take over Gaza again, because we already owned it. We already had control over it. We withdrew, and now we're sacrificing the lives again of these young soldiers who will never be fathers, mothers, never have full lives. Their lives are cut short out of the stupidity of. It's so easy to blame the leadership of Israel, but it's really the vast majority of the nation of Israel who elects those leaders and who puts those leaders in power. Yes, they are to blame, and they will face their punishment one way or another, whether it's through the people of Israel turning against them, or whether it's through divine punishment. They will face their punishment, just as the spies who spied out Israel faced their punishment. How the heck did this go down so quickly? This battery, I don't know what's going on. Just as the spies faced their punishment, right? They had good intentions. They were just trying to warn Israel, right? The same with the leaders of Israel. They're just trying to, they're doing what they think is right? Peace, and be part of the New Middle East and all this kind of stuff. They'll face their punishment. But really, the problem is with us. We elect such leaders. We choose these leaders, or we allow these leaders to rise to power. If that's the case, which it is the case, then the problem is with the nation of Israel. It's our problem that we elect such people to lead us, and that we're led in such a stupid way. And now we've paid a heavy price for that, a horrible, horrible price for that. And there is some waking up in Israel. Is it enough? I really don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. I have a feeling it's not enough. I have a feeling a bunch of people have woken up, but the leadership still seems to be doing the same old stupidity that they were doing before. And, they're they're not really taking care of business the way business needs to be taken care of in Gaza, which would basically mean razing the entire place to the ground, killing everybody, and taking the place over for the people of Israel. That's what they should be doing, but they're not doing it, unfortunately, and they won't do it. So it looks like, unfortunately, we're going to have to learn some more lessons. That's the way it is. All right. With that being said, what can I say from the point of view of a Karaite? I just don't understand why this battery is going down so damn quickly. 1 second here. I just want to check something. Jesus Christ. I'm gonna have to plug in a second, but okay. From the point of view of a Karaite, I see it in a different perspective. We as Karaites, I think, see things in a different perspective. We have a unique perspective on how far off base the nation of Israel is, whether they are, whether they are secular oriented or rabbinically oriented. We see that they're off base. We can see what Israel is doing wrong, and it hurts us and it pains us. And all we could do is just hope that Israel will one day or another wake up and abandon their two false philosophies of, on the one hand, Western democracy, and on the other hand, rabbinical Judaism. And we can only hope that the so-called Karaites, who really are, most Karaites, whether they live in Israel or they live in the United States of America, except for the very independent Karaites, are also stuck in the same damn two false philosophies. That's why the standard, the quote unquote Egyptian Karaite movement is such a complete abject failure and just a complete, it's a disgrace actually to Karaism. I can't even believe those people still call themselves Karaites, because really, the American version, the American Egyptian Karaites, whatever that means, the Egyptian Karaites who migrated to America, they're very Americanized. They act like Westerners and they think like Westerners. And the ones who are in the ones who are in Israel, they think heavily like rabbinical Jews. So the Karaite movement itself, for the most part, has been corrupted by those two same false philosophies of Western culture and rabbinical Judaism, sadly. So there are very few of us that are at least making an attempt to really stick to the true Torah as best as we can understand it in these times. And I never claim that we have the ability or that we can understand it fully. We can only try our best. We too are sadly influenced by these false philosophies, because these are the philosophies we grew up in. And but we can at least make a conscious effort to try to extricate ourselves from those false philosophies. At any rate, the nation of Israel right now is going through a very hard learning period. It's had a very hard lesson taught to it, and from every hard lesson there is some waking up, there's some realization. That certainly is the process that's happening in Israel now to some degree, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens next. Of course, we should pray for our brothers and sisters in Israel. We should pray for all of the people of Israel, that they do wake up, that they return to the Torah, that they return to Yahweh, and that they do what they are meant to do. Okay, that being said, I'm going to just take a very, very quick break. I'm going to get the plug. Oh, actually, it's right here, so I don't even have to get the plug. Hold on a second. See if I can do it without moving. I might be able to. Show them. Oh. 1 second. Let's see if this is going to work. Let's see if this is going to work. Do this. A second. Unplug this. A second. Oops. Plug this in. And I think we should be good to go. Yes, I guess we're good to go now. Okay, everything's plugged in. So, all right. So, all of that being said, let's get going with the Torah study. We're starting today from, let's see, where's the chapter and verse? So, the beginning of 18. Let me take a look at this for a second. Genesis chapter 18. And I think last time, I guess we did get up. Did we finish? Yeah, 17, the covenant. We didn't read it. So maybe I'll go back a little bit to 17. I'm going to start reading in Genesis chapter 17. Again, I'm just going to read through the entire Parsha, which means we've got to go from until the end of 22, basically. So I'm going to start in 17. We'll do 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. I'm going to basically read through it with very little commentary. And then we'll go back afterwards and we'll fill in with some commentary. Okay, so let's see here. I've got to share the screen. Share screen. Window. Torah. Share. Shoshi boy. Shoshi boy. Hey. As usual, cat problems. Okay. So we're in Genesis chapter 17. Follow along in the Hebrew or in your own translation into English or your favorite language of choice. Maybe it's the perfect opportunity to learn a new language. I don't know. You can, find the ancient Japanese translation or something like that and use it as an opportunity to learn ancient Japanese. I don't know, whatever you're into. But let's get going here. So this is Abram is named Avraham, and we're in Genesis chapter 17, verse 1. Waihi Avram ben Tish'im Shana, Tesha Shanim, 99 years old. And let's just put this in context. If we go back to 16, we had the whole story with Hagar, Sarah's concubine, and Ishmael. Okay. And we don't hear anything yet about Yitzhak. So Abraham thinks that his son, his progeny, remember he's been promised he's going to be the father of a great nation, that many descendants will come from him. And the only son he has is the son of this Egyptian concubine, Hagar, at this point. So he doesn't know what the heck is going on, or he thinks that that's his destiny, is to have this promise fulfilled through. What are you doing, Johan? What are you doing? What are you doing? You are one cuckoo little cat. Come here, you. So energy. It's about 6 months old now, and this cat has so much energy. Hey, come here, you. Come here, you. All right. Anyway, let's start here. We're in Genesis 17. Wa'ihi Avram ben Tish'im Shana, what Tisha Shanim, 99 years old. Vayera Yahweh El Avram, Wayomer Elau, Ani El Shaddai. Hithalech Bifanai, and notice that he doesn't call himself Yahweh, he calls himself El Shaddai. Ani El Shaddai. Hitalech Lifanai wa Hayet Tamim. Walk before me and be perfect, be pure. Wa itna berithi beni uvenecha wa arbe utcha bimeod meod. I will greatly multiply you. And remember, all we have at this point is no Yitzhak, no knowledge of Yitzhak, only Yishmael. So Abraham must be thinking at this point, my progeny, my destiny, this destiny is through Yishmael. And we see that Yishmael has problems. He's not a model child, as we will see with a couple of hints. Okay, verse 3. Vayipol Avram al panau, vayidaber ito Elohim lemor. Genesis chapter 17, verse 4. Ani hine brithi itach wahayita la'ab amon goyim. You will be a father to a multitude of peoples, to a multitude of nations. And that's where we get the name Avraham. Avraham is a play on words of Av l'hamon goyim, or we could say that Av l'hamon goyim is a play on the words Avraham. We've noticed that when names are changed by Yahweh, that inevitably, I can only think really, let's see, has anyone else who had their name changed directly by Yahweh? Maybe somewhere in the Nach, I'd have to think about it. But the three we can think of from the Torah who had their name changed by Yahweh, that's Avraham, Sarah, and Yehoshua, each had a hey added to their name. And I think that's not by coincidence. I believe that is coming from the fact that the name Yahweh, we could say the emphasis of the word Yahweh, even if you pronounce it, which I've come to believe is incorrect, Yehovah, the hey is the important is the emphasized syllable or the emphasized sound in the name Yahweh, Yahweh, right? Even if you say the shorthand form of Yahweh, which is Yah, and that has a nikud in it, so Yah, it's like an aspirated hey, aspirated sound. Then the ha seems to be an extremely, I guess, the emphasis of the name of God. So this emphasis, this hey, which is the focal point of the name of God, of Yahweh, or even of Yahuwah, is now what is being added to the names of Avram to become Avraham, Sarai to become Sarah, and Yeshua to become Yehoshua. So in each case, a hey is added to the name. Okay? Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom, Itan, Avior. Hold on, I've got a little bit of a cat problem here. Shoham, what on planet is this cat doing? What are you doing? What? No, you can't do that. You cannot do that. Come here, you. Come here, you. Come here, you. Would you like to say hi? Hi to everybody. Look, this is Hakham Shoham. Are you Hakham Shoham? Come here, you. You're gonna go in the back. Go. Come here. Oh, you take Shoham. Okay, then I'm gonna put it outside. Shushi boy, come here. Come here. Come here, you. Come here. You're gonna do it outside for a while. Come here. Wait. Come here, you. Go. I never know what is going to be with that cat. I mean, this time he was walking in the dish rack. Okay. All right. So back to Torah. Right. Verse 5. So in 17:5, Willow Yikare Od Et Shimcha Avram Wahayav Shimcha Avraham Ki Av Hamon Goyim Nit Taticha. Okay, Av Hamon Goyim, a father of many nations, or a father of a multitude of nations. Av Hamon Goyim, that's how you say it. Av means father. Hamon means many or multitude, a throng maybe. And Goyim means nations. In modern Hebrew parlance or Yiddish, a goy is kind of a derogatory term for a Gentile, but there's no such implication in the Torah, in the Tanakh. In fact, Israel many times is called a goy. It just means a nation. So Av Hamon Goyim, father to a multitude or to a throng of nations. Av Hamon Goyim, hence the name Avraham. Okay. Verse 6, Genesis chapter 17, verse 6. והפרעתי אותך במאוד מאוד, ונתתיך לגויים ומלכים ממך יצאו. I will make you fruitful. Remember, the first blessing that is given to Adam and Eve is be fruitful and multiply. Here, that blessing is being fulfilled. God has only been cursing humanity up until now. Basically, he cursed Adam and Eve. He decided to eradicate all of humanity in the time of Noah, except for Noah and his sons and their wives. And now he's chosen. Finally, he's found his chosen one among all of the however many people there were in the earth at the time, maybe millions. He's found his chosen one, and he's, instead of cursing him as he's been doing to humanity since the day he created them, now he's going to bless his chosen one, Abraham. He's going to fulfill that original blessing of be fruitful and multiply, which was not a commandment, it was a blessing. Now he's going to directly bless Abraham with that blessing. How much more ironic, given the fact that Abraham is now 99 years old and childless. Okay. Verse 7, 17:7. "Wahikim oti et briti beni uvenecha, uven zar echa aharecha lidorothon, lebrit olam, liot lecha leElohim ulezar echa acharecha." So I'm going to establish a covenant with you. Here's another covenant. There have been a number of covenants established so far, such as the one that was established with Noah, with the rainbow. Now here's a covenant established with Abraham. Verse 8, "We natati lecha u lezer acha acharecha et eretz mi horecha et kol eretz Kinaan ahuzat olam wahayiti lahem leElohim." Okay. Circumcision. So this is going to be ratified. This covenant is going to be ratified with the circumcision, the cutting of the foreskin. There would be a lot to say about this, I think. We'll see if we have some time. "Vayomer Elohim el Abraham wa ata et briti tishmor wa ata zer echa acharecha ledorotam." So now God said he's going to fulfill his covenant. Now he's telling Abraham has to do his part. He has to also fulfill the covenant. "Zot briti asher tishmeru beni uvenechem uven zeracha acharecha himol lachem kol zachar." So circumcise every male. Verse 11, "U nimaltem et besar or lachem wahaya laot brit beni uvenechem." So in your most private part, in your most intimate part, you are now going to have a sign, a physical sign on your body, in your most private part, your most intimate part, that you belong to God. There'd be a lot to say about this, but we have to move forward. "Uben shemonat yamim yimol lachem kol zachar lidorotechem yalid ba'et umiknat kesef mikol ben nechar asher lo mizaracha hu." So this is saying that every male at the age of 8 days old should be circumcised, and that not only includes those who are born to the Israelite households, but also it says miknat kesef, meaning servants that are bought. So if you have a servant that you bought, a slave basically, that is part of your household, then if he gives birth, well, that slave first of all has to be circumcised. But if he has a son, if a new slave is born within your household, and slavery was permitted in the time of the Torah, it was regulated slavery, but it was permitted in the time of the Torah, then that slave, the child of the slave, if he's part of your household, also has to be circumcised. And anyone, in other words, anyone who's a permanent part of your household is to be circumcised. Okay. The StreamYard link provided goes to a blank screen. Seriously? Let me check it out. 1 second. One second, Phil. Let's see what's going on here. Entering the studio. No, it works for me. I don't know. You know, there might be some browsers that don't work well with StreamYard. I'm on Chrome. Chrome works. So I don't know what browser you're using, but maybe try Chrome and see if that works for you. Okay. So believe it or not, the slave, there'd be a lot to say about that. But the slave in ancient Israel actually has the status of being a permanent member of an Israelite household. And as so, the slave has certain rights that a free man just passing through Israel does not have. For instance, the slave, if he's circumcised in Exodus 12, may bring Exodus 12, 48, may bring, actually not 20, 48, but right around there, may partake in the Passover sacrifice. A slave is a protected class on Shabbat. The slave gets to rest. There are many other laws having to do with the slave that implies that the slave that's part of an Israelite household is basically an adjunct to the nation of Israel. Not an Israelite per se, but is basically part of the overall, shall we say, enlarged, or the overall nation of Israel, or people of Israel. Okay, Mikol ben Nechar asher lo mizaracha hu. Verse 13. Himol yalid betcha miknat kasbecha v'hayta briti biv sarchem lebrit olam. וערל זכר אשר לא ימול את בשר עורלתו ונכרתה הנפש ההיא מעמך את בריתי אפר. So you're cut off, excision from the nation of Israel if you do not carry out the circumcision. ויאמר אלוהים אל אברהם שרי אשתך לא תקרא את שמה שרי כי שרה שמה. So now Sarai gets her name change from Sarai to Sarah. Again, we have the addition of the hey, or the replacement of the yud with the hey, just like Avram got an extra hey in his name, Avram to Abraham. So Sarai becomes Sarah. Verse 16. ובירכתי אותה וגם נתתי ממנה לך בן וברכתיה והייתה לאלוהים מלכי עמים ממנה יהיו. And this is the first time that Abraham is finding out that Sarah, she just got her name changed, and now Abraham is being told for the first time ever that Sarah is going to have children. Not only she's going to have children, entire nations and kings are going to come out of her womb. So this is an amazing thing. This is a big day for Abraham and Sarah, right? To this point, they're kind of childless. I mean, they had Ishmael. Ishmael was, I guess, the next best thing they could do. But now Avram gets his name changed to Abraham. Sarai gets her name changed to Sarah. And then Avram is told that Sarah is going to have her own child, or her own progeny. Verse 17, Vayipol Avraham al panao Vayischak. Vayomer bilibo haleben mea shana yewaled Vaim Sarah habat tish'im shana teled. Okay, so Avram falls on his face and he laughs. Vayischak. And this is the first time we see a recurring theme, which is going to be expressed in the name of Sarah's son, Yitzhak. Yitzhak means he will laugh, and we see a theme of laughing, of rejoicing, laughing, sometimes mocking. We'll pay attention as we go through it. Wherever we see this word Yitzhak, or this underlying root, Sahak, Sadi Kof, which means laugh, in relation to the son that Abraham and Sarah are going to have. So Abraham falls on his face and laughs. But he laughs? It's is it a laugh of joy? No, it seems to be more like a laugh of I wouldn't say mocking, but a laugh of disbelief, like yeah right, like a yeah right kind of laugh. Okay, so and we'll see a number of those yeah right kind of laughs, and we'll see a number of laughs of joy. But there is this theme of laughing, and that's why Yitzhak, the son, is expressed in the name of their son Yitzhak, which means to laugh. Yitzhak means he will laugh. Okay. And he said in his heart, I'm 100 years old, and my wife Sarah is 90 years old. Are we really going to give birth to a child? Verse 18. ויאמר אברהם אל האלוהים, לו ישמעאל יחיה לפניך. And here's one of the first indications, maybe the first indication that we have that Ishmael is not exactly a model child. Abraham says he already has a son who at this point is 13 years old. Ishmael was born when Abraham was 86, it says explicitly. And Abraham says, if only Ishmael would walk before you, implying that Ishmael is not walking before God. He's not exactly being the model child that Abraham hoped he would be. Okay, verse 19. ויאמר אלוהים, אבל שרה אשתך יולדת לך בן וקראת את שמו יצחק. You'll call his name Yitzchak. You call his name, he will laugh. ויקום אותי את בריתי איתו, לברית עולם, לזרעו אחריי. And he will get the blessing that I'm giving to you, or the covenant I'm giving to you will go through him, not through Ishmael. ולישמעאל שימעתיך, הנה ברכתי אותו והפרעתי אותו והרביתי אותו במאוד מאוד, 12 נשיאים יוליד ונתתיו לגוי גדול. So it's being clarified that Ishmael is not going to be the one, but because he's your son, I'm still going to bless him. Verse 21, ואת בריתי אחים את יצחק, אשר תלד לך שרה ממועד הזה בשנה האחרת. Verse 22, ויכל לדבר איתו ויעל אלוהים מעל אברהם. Verse 23, ויקח. So again, prophecy, or God telling Abraham that in a year from now, next year at this time, Sarah is going to give birth. Verse 23, ויקח אברהם את ישמעאל בנו ואת כל ילידי ביתו ואת כל מתנת כספו, כל זכר ואנשי בית אברהם, וימל את בשר עולתם בעצם היום הזה, כאשר דיבר איתו אלוהים. So Abraham circumcises his entire household. Verse 24, ואברהם בן 99 שנה, והיא מולו בשר עולתו. So Abraham was 99 years old when he circumcised himself. וישמעאל בנו בן 13 שנה, והיא מלו את בשר עולתו. And Ishmael was 13 years old. בעצם היום הזה, נימול אברהם וישמעאל בנו. Verse 27, וכל אנשי ביתו יליד בית, מקנת כסף מאת בני נכר נימולו איתו. Okay, so Abraham's entire household is circumcised. Verse 18, alrighty. Any questions, any comments regarding chapter 17? Okay, then let's go on. We're in 18 now. Vayera. So this is the beginning of our parsha. Vayera. That's the name of the parsha. Vayera. Elau Yahweh be'elonei mamrei. Uhu yoshev petach ohel moed kechom hayom. So let's take a look very briefly at the journeys of the patriarchs. Let's find it. Okay. So many here now. Journeys. Hello. There we go. Oh, no. That's not what I'm looking for. Second. Year, numbers, holiday, scriptures, and purity, sacrificial laws, patriarchal journeys. That's what we want. Okay, so Abraham, remember, he went down to Egypt, then he came back up, and now since he separated from Lot went towards Sodom, and now Abraham. Let me make this a little bit larger. Hello. There we go. And Abraham is at the Oaks of Mamre, Alone Mamre, which is near Hebron. Okay, that's where he is when this next situation, this next story takes place. Okay. And it says right here, Alone Mamre. Now there are two Alones, there are two oaks, or sometimes it's translated as terebinths, and they sound almost the same, and it's important not to get them confused. There's Alon More. Alon More is near Shechem. And then there's Alone, or Alon Mamre. Hello, wake up. There we go. Alone Mamre, the Oaks of Mamre, which is near Hebron. So Alon More and Alon Mamre. And this is basically where Abraham first comes into, when he comes into the land of Israel, he goes to Alon More and he builds an altar there that's near Shechem, but eventually he settles down, he goes to Bethel, and then eventually comes down to Alon Mamre, to near Hebron. And that's of course where he's going to end up purchasing the cave of Machpelah and end up burying his wife Sarah. Okay, so that's where he is. Verse 2. וישא עינו וירא והנה שלושה אנשים ניצבים עליו וירא וירס לקראתם מפתח האוהל וישתחו ארצה. One second. Okay, verse 4. I'm sorry, verse 3. ויאמר אדוני אם נא מצאתי חן בעיניך אל נא תעבור מעל עבדך. This is Abraham speaking to these three strangers. Verse 4. ייקח נא מעט מים ורחצו רגליכם הישענו תחת העץ. So basically sit and rest a while. وأكها פת לחם וסעדו לבכם אחר תעברו כי על כן עברתם על עבדכם ויאמרו כן תעשה כאשר דיברת. So Abraham basically invites these passers-by, these strangers, to come in and rest and have a little bite to eat. And he even says, this is the reason that you happened upon my tent. Implying that, fate had it that you should come upon my tent because you needed a rest, and here God made it happen that you came upon my tent so you could rest. Verse 6. וימהר אברהם האוהלה אל שרה ויאמר בחרי 3 שאים קמח סולת לושי ועשי עוגות. So he instructs Sarah to make some food, some bread for the strangers. ואל הבקר רץ אברהם ויקח בן בקר רך וטוב וייתן אל הנער וימהר לעשות אותו. So Ben Bakar, I believe we have this in our animal list, but let me just add it just in case we don't. Animal terms. Ben Yonah, we have. If we don't have Ben Bakar, we should add Ben Bakar. We have Bakar, but I don't think we have Ben Bakar. So let me just add this very briefly. So Ben Bakar. This is in Genesis 18:7. And if we have bakar as one of the herd animals. So we should maybe translate this as herd animal. Oops. Animal baby. Okay. Sex, I guess it can apply a male or a female. No, it's a ben bakar, so I guess we'll let's see here. 1 second. I guess I put for ben yonah, male or female. So put the same here. Age, young, species or category. Cattle, bulls or cow. And comments. Let's just get maybe a quick translation of this. So Ben Bakar. 1 second here. Genesis 18:7. Genesis 18:7. Let's see how they translate. The NIV translates it. Tender calf. Not sure if I like that translation. Let's go to parallel. Get a bunch of translations here. 18:7, is it? Tender calf, tender calf, tender. Such a calf, tender and good. Again, let me look at Hebrew for 1 second. El. Okay, tender is rach. So just translating it as calf, basically. Calf. So that's what a ben bakar is. It's a calf. So we'll change this here. Calf. We'll put it as calf. Herd animal. Herd animal. Baby. Put it over there. So ben bakar is a calf. Okay. Right. And let me just do one thing here. So they really treated Ben Bakar. Okay, good enough. Okay, so that's that. That's Genesis 18:7. We're translating that as calf. Are there any other translations here? I don't think so. It's always going to be calf, 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 calf. Okay. Cool. And let me just look here. Seven and calf. Okay. Bakar. Let's see. There's separate entrance for Ben Bakar. 1 second. Sorry about this diversion, but this I like to keep these things, up to date. Ben Bakar, Ben Bakar, Ben Bakar. Bakar. Okay, good enough. I think we're good. All right. So, right. Okay. So Ben Bakar rach v'tov yiten el ha'na'ar v'yimaher la'asot oto. Verse 8. ויקח חמה וחלב ובין הבקר אשר עשה וייתן לפניהם והוא עומד עליהם תחת העץ ויאכלו. So he feeds them calf, he prepares the baby calf, and he also gives them butter and milk, which the rabbis go crazy over because Abraham is serving the strangers meat and milk, and you'll hear all kinds of ridiculous explanations as to how Abraham could do such a thing. So one explanation, the most common explanation, well, this is before the Torah was given. But then there's the idea in rabbinical Judaism that the patriarchs kept all of the Torah, kulo, the entire Torah, even before it was given. So then the rabbis have a problem with that, and then they come up with all kinds of other ridiculous explanations. I won't even bore you with them, but I once sat for about 2 hours in a yeshiva one day, many years ago in Israel. Some idiot rabbi explained to me that this was a special calf that Abraham used magic to conjure the calf out of nothing. He looked into the Sefer Yetzirah, an ancient or a supposed ancient book of Kabbalah, to conjure the calf out of nothing, and so therefore it was not considered meat, and it could be served with the milk and the butter. Yes, a rabbi who actually pretends to be knowledgeable in Torah actually taught that. Spent about an hour maybe teaching that in yeshiva, which again just shows how stupid the rabbis are and how stupid their movement is. It's just pathetic, absolutely pathetic. Okay, as Karaites, obviously we don't have a problem with that because there is no separation of meat and milk anywhere in the Torah. Okay, verse 18. Whoa. Let's try this again. Hold on. I can hear you. Okay, verse 18. I'm sorry. Verse 9, Leviticus 18:9. Vayomru elav hayeh Sarah ishtecha. Vayomer hine ba'ohev. So now these three strangers are speaking to Abraham. Where is Sarah? Vayomer shuv elecha ka'ayet haya. Wahine ben l'Sarah ishtecha وسارة شمعت פתח אוהל האוהל והוא אחריו. So they say that in this time next year we'll return, and Sarah is going to have a baby. Actually, it doesn't say we will return. It says Shov Ashuv, I will return. So it's very interesting here. They said to him, where's Sarah? And then Abraham answers, she's in the tent. And then he says, Shov Ashuv elecha. So I guess one of them says, I will certainly return to you at this time next year. And behold, Sarah will have a son. Or behold, there will be a son to Sarah. Or this could be God speaking now. God speaking through the angels. I've been listening a lot lately to debates of Christians versus religious Jews. And one of the things that a lot of these Christians like to say when they're arguing for their son of God dude is, as my friend Suri says, the Jew on a stick, the Jewsicle, as they're arguing for their Jewsicle, is that we have precedence in the Torah that God takes the form of a man. Now it's not explicit here, but if this is God speaking, it would seem, oh yeah, so this is God taking the form of a man. This is a bunch of baloney. We're going to see that when the angels speak, it can interchangeably say that the angel spoke, the messenger of God spoke, or that God spoke. It doesn't mean that God is taking the form of this man. It means that as the messenger of God, when the angel speaks, he's speaking in the name of God. Okay, and we'll see this more explicitly in a little while. Verse 11. Just check in here and see if there are any questions or comments. Born of a virgin cow. Okay. Immaculately. Yeah, the immaculately conceived calf. Exactly. Exactly. That would be perfect for the Christians, actually. Okay. Well, Abraham was Sarah zikbainim ba'im b'yamim hadali ot l'Sarah orach kanashim. So Sarah had already long ago entered menopause, is what that verse is saying. Verse 12, Watitzak Sarah b'kirba lemor acharei biloti hayta li idna wa adoni zaken. So now Sarah laughs. What kind of laugh is this? First of all, we see again theme of laughing. This is now the third time I believe we've seen, third time, maybe fourth time, including the naming of Yitzhak. I can't remember, third or fourth time that we've seen this verb tzachak, to laugh, and Sarah laughs when the angels tell her, when one of the angels or when God tells her that this time next year she will have a son. She starts laughing. What kind of laugh is it? Is it a laugh of joy, or is it a laugh of disbelief, of almost mocking? It's a laugh of, clearly it's a laugh of mocking, as we'll see, okay, in the next verse. So far, all of the laughing that's been done, both by Avraham, back over, where was it? I can't find it now. Over here, Avraham is laughing in a, I don't know if I call it mocking, but in a yeah, I guess it's almost like a disbelief, right? Yeah, right, like a yeah, right kind of laugh, okay? And now Sarah is doing that same kind of laugh. Yeah, right. Sarah hears this and she's laughing because, I mean, she kind of has every right to laugh in a sense. I don't know if she has every right to laugh, but she has every reason to laugh because she is now 90 years old and she's long ago entered menopause, and her husband Abraham is 99 years old, and now these angels are saying that next year she's going to give birth to a son. Are you kidding me? I mean, who are you kidding here, right? But we see as one, believe it or not, the Christian dude that I listen to. I listen to Christian stuff for a number of reasons. Again, I always like to point out I'm not a Christian in any way, shape, or form. Not a Christian, not a Messianic. Never have. Am not now. Never will be. And I always, unfortunately, need to point this out because of the one rogue Karaite running around, increasing people's belief in the false god Jesus. We won't even get into that. But at any rate, I do listen to content, and some of it is by Christians. And Christians, they do put out a lot of good content. I listen to a number of biblical archaeology YouTube channels that are run by Christians, and they put out great content. And then when they get into the Jesus stuff, I just, I kind of ignore it, or I laugh at it, or I actually use it as a way to kind of, get into their minds and see what they're thinking, as a way to ultimately refute it. So why did I bring up that I listen to Christian content? I can't even remember why. At any rate, oh yeah, because this one Christian archaeologist guy, who has a very good channel, I really like his channel, as a matter of fact. He always says that with God, the impossible becomes possible. One of the things that characterizes what God does is he makes the impossible possible. He's 100% right. For instance, the Exodus from Egypt. Who would have thought that a bunch of slaves that were trapped in Egypt and being oppressed would be miraculously taken out of Egypt? And so many other things. Who would have thought that an army of 300 people under Gideon, would be able to win their battles? But we see that one of the things that defines Yahweh is he makes the impossible possible. And right here, we have that situation. He's making the impossible possible. Sarah is 90 years old. Abraham is 99 years old, and yet they're going to have a child. So verse 12, after I've already withered away, after I've already become, let's see how they translate it here. I'm sure it's a horrible translation. I've grown old. It's a horrible translation. It really means like withered away or been worn away. Like after I'm already worn out, atali edna, shall I have this joy, this pleasure? You've all heard of the name. It's not very common anymore. Edna. Well, here's the word Edna. One second. Looking out for myself. Right. Okay. And while my husband is old, so literally my master is old. We know that a husband is usually called a Baal. Excuse me for 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. So, verse 13. ויאמר יהוה אל אברהם, למה זה צחקה שרה לאמור האף אמנם אלד ואני זקנתי. So now Yahweh calls out Abraham regarding Sarah, really calls out Sarah. Why did Sarah laugh? למה זה צחקה שרה לאמור, saying, am I really going to give birth after I've already become old, or while I am old? So it's a mocking kind of laugh. So far, all the laughs have been mocking kind of laughs of disbelief. How is this even possible? But Yahweh is going to make the impossible possible, and that's stated exactly, explicitly here. I love this verse. Hayipale me Yahweh davar nemoed ashuv elecha ke'et haya ulesara ben. Hayipale me Yahweh davar. We should always keep this phrase in mind. In fact, I'm going to copy it and paste it into the chat. I think it's such an important phrase. This, if we're lacking anything in life, then this is a great phrase to remember. Usually translated as, let me bring it up here. I'm on there. Can I join? Nua. Okay. Fine. This is Hayipale me Yahweh davar. Let me make this a little bit more bubble. Block. I'm going to start playing around with this classic. There we go. Hayipale me Yahweh davar. And this can be translated as, let's see, can I edit this? Some timeout. No, I'm not going to put myself in timeout. Let's try this again. I would translate this is anything too great for God? Okay, there we go. Is anything too great for God? This is an important phrase to remember, all of us in our lives. I think whatever we're going through, whatever pain and suffering we have, that Yahweh has the power to get us out of whatever situation we're in. If he can give a 100-year-old man, a 99-year-old man, and his 90-year-old wife a child, then he could do pretty much anything. Is anything too great for God? Okay? Okay, lemoed ashuv elecha. And by the way, it says why you here. So here we go. Vayomer Yahweh el Avraham. Yahweh said to Avraham, but who was talking to him? It wasn't God. It was one of these messengers. It was one of these visitors. Okay, so we see that there's an interchangeability between the messengers speaking and God speaking. In other words, the messengers are speaking in the name of Yahweh, and the Torah will say that Yahweh spoke to Avraham, or Yahweh spoke to Moses. When in fact it really means that Yahweh is speaking through the angels. In other words, the angels are transmitting the message. Can you close the door, please? Okay. So lemoed ashuv elecha ka'et haya ulesara ben. So next year I'll return, and Sarah is going to have a child. Wa ti hachesh Sarah lemor lo tzahakti ki ya re'ah. Why yomer lo ki tzahakt? So Sarah is now scared. She realized she's basically mocked God, or she's laughed, implying that she lacks the faith that Yahweh can do anything he wants to do. And so she now has fear of God because she's basically laughing in his face, in a sense. And Sarah denies that she laughed. And one second, and I guess it's the angel that's saying, no, you did laugh. Okay, understandable, that little lapse of faith. Okay, now we go on to the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. You've all heard of Sodom and Gomorrah, also known as New York City in this day and age. And let me get rid of this. Let me bring this back. That. That's better. Okay. So Avram begs for New York City, Sodom, and Los Angeles, Gomorrah. Verse 16, Wayakum Sham Ha'anashim Wa Yashkifu Al Pnei Sodom, Avraham Olech Imam Lishalcham. So they're looking towards, so they all three of them get up, and Avraham is accompanying them to send them on their way. Verse 17, Wa Yahweh Amar Hamichaseh ani me Avraham asher ani oseh. Am I going to hide from Avraham that which I plan to do? Wa Avraham hayo yi'el roy gadol wa asum wa nivrechu bo kol goyei haaretz. So how can I hide from Avraham what I'm about to do, seeing that I've already given Avraham this blessing that he's going to be a great nation? Verse 19, or Genesis 18:19. Ki yeda'ti lima'an asher yisaweh et banao wa et beto achara wa shamaru derech Yahweh asot tzedakah u'mishpat lima'an hevi Yahweh al Avraham et asher diber elau. Okay, that's a nice verse. I know that he is going to command his sons and his entire household to keep the ways of God and to do righteousness and justice in order that Yahweh can bring upon Avraham that which he spoke about him. In other words, God is saying that he knows that Avraham is a righteous person. He's going to command his household in a righteous way, and because of that, I'll be able to fulfill this promise that I made to him. I want to fulfill this promise, and I know that he is going to allow me to fulfill this promise by commanding his entire household to be righteous. Verse 20. Wayomer Yahweh Zakrat Sdom wa Amorah ki rabah wa hatatam ki kavda meod arida na wa er'eh hakitzakata Haba'a elai asu kala wa im lo eda'a. So now God has heard the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah, and their sin is very great. Let me go down, and I will see if it's true. I'm going to see if that is happening according to the cry here. What is this cry that they're hearing? Well, the cry is maybe it could mean a number of different things. It could mean the cry of the people suffering under the injustice of Sodom and Gomorrah. Maybe we could make an analogy to, let's say, the January 6th prisoners who are languishing in jail. Sodom equals San Francisco, the worst of the worst. Yeah, it's up there. Maybe we can make an analogy to let's say, the January 6th prisoners, who are languishing in jail and have been mistreated and have been treated completely unjustly, and their cry is going out to heaven, and God hears that cry. Or maybe it just means the tumult of the injustice of all the raucousness, the murder, all of the crazy stuff that is going on there. So either way, the cry reaches up to heaven, and Yahweh is now going to go down and see what's going on. And what is the cry? There's this focus always, because of the way the story pans out, of we know that that the townspeople try to break in and have, shall we say, unnatural relations with the visitors, and so it's always implied that the sin of Sodom was homosexuality, was anal sex, male anal sex, and therefore hence the word sodomy. But that certainly was one of the sins of the city. But let's find another verse which I always like to bring up. Just 1 second. Mm-mm-mm. 1 second here. Got to remember now chapter and verse. 1 second. Lamentations. 1 second. Huh. Is it Isaiah? Let's see here. Where's that one verse? Here. It's Isaiah 3. 1 second. If I can't find it right now, we'll do it another time. 3:9. 1 second. No, it's not that. Oops. Hello. Sodom and Gomorrah. Sodom and Gomorrah. I can't remember which verse, chapter and verse it is right now. Ezekiel. It's not Ezekiel. Let's see. I'm gonna try Isaiah 13:19. Some of you probably already know which verse I'm looking for. Nope, not that. Let's try Jeremiah 23:14. I'm assuming they committed adultery and destroyed the. No, it's not that. Try one or two more. Jeremiah 49:18. That's it. Second. Nope. All right, I can't find it right now, but it lists the sins of Sodom over through Sodom and Gomorrah. Ezekiel, Sodom with the daughters, sister, Ezekiel 16:49. Second, Amos, Elohim, it's still that. No. I can't find it right now. Okay, I don't know. I'm having a mental block. I can't remember which verse it is. Okay, forget it. Yeah, Isaiah 1:9. I should know this by heart, but I forgot. I can't remember. Okay, it doesn't matter. At any rate, the sins of Sodom and Gomorrah were not just that one act. And for some reason, that is what is seized on, but it did not necessarily have to do only with that. It had to do with just general injustice, murder, spilling blood. Okay. So Genesis 18:20. No, 18:22. So we're in chapter 18, verse 22. Why yifnu misham ha'anoshim? Why yilchu Sodoma? Abraham odeno amed lifnei Yahweh. Okay. Verse 23. Why yigash Abraham wayomer ha'af tispeh sadik im rosha. So this is where Abraham is now going to bargain with Yahweh about saving Gomorrah. about Sodom and Amorah. And I always like to say that Abraham Jews him down to 10, but even that's not enough. Okay, verse 24. Ulai ish hamishim tzadikim b'toch ha'ir ha'af tispe v'lo tisa lemakom leman hamishim tzadikim asher b'kirba. So first of all, one of the things I always like to point out with the story is that Abraham uses logical arguments. He approaches this situation by using logical arguments, and this is the first logical argument. He uses, and all of the patriarch, not only all of the leaders of Israel, they use logical arguments and they use emotional arguments when they try to convince God to do something. And here we see maybe this is the perfect paradigm of that. So, Wayomer ha'af tispeh sadikim rasha. Are you going to wipe out the righteous person together with the evil person? In other words, are you going to wash away the righteous together with the evil? Is that fair? Is basically what Abraham is saying. How are you going to treat the righteous person like the evil person? You're going to just wash away the righteous person together with the evil person? Verse 24, Genesis 18:24. Ulai ish hamishim tzadikim b'toch ha'ir ha'af tispeh v'lo tisa lemakom lema'an hamishim tzadikim asher b'kirba. So what if there are 50 righteous people in the city? And so again, Abraham is using, I would say here, logical/emotional arguments with God. God forbid. In other words, not God forbid, maybe a better translation would be, how do they translate here? Far be it. Okay, far be it from you to do this thing, to kill off righteous people together with evil people. In other words, how can you do this? How are you going to, just because there's a bunch of evil people in the city, you're going to wipe out the entire city? That means you're going to wipe out righteous people as well. You're going to treat the righteous people like the evil people? God forbid you should do such a thing. Far from you to do such a thing. And you're going to treat the righteous person like the evil person? How dare you do something like that? How could you even think of doing something like this? Is the judge, the fair judge of all the world, not going to do justice? Is the judge of all the world not going to do justice? Abraham is really being bold. He's really putting his butt on the line by talking this way to God. And he does it fearlessly. And the reason he does it fearlessly is because he sees an injustice. He sees something is wrong here. And this is the characteristic of a righteous person. A righteous person will stand up when they see injustice, just like when Moses stood up when he saw the Israelites being beaten, and just like so many of the patriarchs or so many of the leaders of Israel stood up when they saw injustice being done. That is what defines, I would say, a leader of Israel. And he really is, he's really putting it, really getting hard with God. Will the judge of all the world not do justice? He's basically implying that if God does this, if Yahweh does this, he's not acting in a just way. He's really putting his butt on the line. Okay. Verse 26, Vayomer Yahweh, im emsan b'Sodom 50 tzadikim b'toch ha'ir, v'nasati lechol hamakom b'avuram. If I find 50, then I'll spare the place for those 50. Verse 27, Ya'an Avraham Yomer hine na ho'alti lidaber el Adonai wa'anochi afar bo'efer. Even though I am dust and soot, nonetheless I have dared to speak to Yahweh, to my master. Verse 28, Ulai yachserun 50 hatzadikim, 5 atashchit ב5 et kol ha'ir, v'yomer lo ashchit im emsa sham 45. So now Avram starts Jewing him down. Oops. So he gets him down to 45. I would like to take Abraham with me to the shuk, to the marketplace in Jerusalem, and every time I would go shopping there, I'd love to have Abraham with me because I'm sure he's going to get me some really, really good prices. Anyway, I'm just joking. God forbid. Avraham is, again, using logical arguments. So he's saying only 5. So if there are 45 instead of 50, you're going to kill, right? For 5 people? If there are only 5 less than 50, you're going to kill. So again, Avraham is using these kind of logical / emotional arguments to get his point across. Verse 29, ויוסף עוד לדבר אליו, ויאמר אולי ימסעון שם 40, ויאמר לא אעשה בעבור 40. So now he gets him down to 40. אומר אל נא יחר לאדוני, ואדברה אולי ימסעון שם 30, ויאמר לא אעשה אם אמצא שם 30. Now he has him down to 30. ויאמר הנה נא הואלתי לדבר אל אדוני, אולי ימסעון שם 20, ויאמר לא אשחית בעבור 20. So now Avram is really, he kind of found an argument that works with Yahweh, right? He tried first with 5. He started with 50, and then he said, what if only, 5 are lacking? And then Yahweh said, okay, I'm not going to kill him for, only 5 are lacking. And then he gets him down to 40. Now he's jumping, he goes down another 5 to 40. So it goes from 50 to 45 to 40. And he says, wow, this line of reasoning is really working well. Instead of doing these 5-person jumps, let me try 10-person jumps. So he goes to 30. And now he goes down to 20. So now he's doing his 10-person jumps. It's like, wow, God's not killing me for, speaking this way to him. And it's working. I'm able to get him down, get this number down. And so, okay. So, I'll go down by 10 instead of by 5. This is okay. This is kind of working. So he goes down to 20. So it's one more time. He realizes, he's pressing his luck. He's going to just go one more time. He's going to try to squeeze that last bit out of Yahweh. And he gets him down to 10. Verse 33, וילך יהוה אשר קילה לדבר אל אברהם, ואברהם שב למקומו. Okay. And then Yahweh went away. And Avram has succeeded in going from 50 down to 10. He's bargained Yahweh down to 10. There's so much more to say about this. But again, what we see here is Avraham using logical arguments, using emotional arguments, and putting his butt out on the line because he believed in something. He believed in something so strongly that he actually believed that he could convince God to change his mind. That's how strongly he believed. He saw an injustice. He saw God about to commit an injustice and said, and basically called, I wouldn't say called God out on it, but used that sense of feeling that injustice is about to be committed to argue with God. I mean, when you think about the story, it's absolutely amazing. I mean, for that really takes independent thought to think, to believe in your way so much that you even think God is wrong, that God is about to commit an injustice. How? I mean, just think about that for a second. How in your mind can you even start arguing with Yahweh, saying he's about to do an injustice? And that is, I think that is the beauty of a follower of Yahweh, that a follower of Yahweh has such an internal sense of right and wrong that if they feel that something is incorrect, they'll even fight God on it. They'll even say that they're right and God is wrong, because the sense of justice, the sense of right and wrong in a sense is so strong in these people that it almost overrules God himself. And that's the beauty of a person like Abraham. That's the beauty of a person later like Moshe, when he uses arguments a number of times to save the people of Israel. He argues against God. So it's almost like there's something deeper than God himself, which is the very principle, the very idea of justice, the very idea of right and wrong, that is even more important than God himself, even though God himself created the idea of right and wrong, infused it in us, infused it in a person like Abraham to such a degree that he's able to say that even Yahweh himself, who created these concepts of right and wrong, of justice and injustice, is not now following his own principles of justice and injustice. It's really an amazing story when you think about it. And Yahweh actually seems to love it, right? Yahweh is shall we say impressed by Avram's actions, has just an incredible amount of I would say, again, I'm maybe speculating here, but I would say this increased Yahweh's love for Abraham more than ever, that he saw that Abraham really cares about other people, really cares about humanity. In the end, it was not to be, because Sodom was so evil that even it's going to get destroyed in the end. But it's amazing that Abraham is able to do this, to even fight against God for a deeper sense inside him of what's right and what's wrong. Verse 1. So now we're in Genesis 19:1. Again, where are we going up to? We've got to go up to the end of 22. So it's 19, 20, 21, 22, another 4 chapters. Verse 1. ויבוא שני המלאכים סדומה בערב ולוט יושב בשער סדום וירא לוט ויקם לקראתם וישתחו אפיים ארצה. Okay, so I want to talk now about one important thing here. So again, this goes back to what the Christians like to say in their debates, that God can take the form of a man. So we have here in Genesis 18, verse 22, so literally it says that the men turned away from there and they went towards Sodom, and Avraham remained standing before Yahweh. So it makes it sound like these angels, or these 3 visitors, that all 3 of them went away, and therefore Yahweh, and now he's speaking directly to Yahweh, meaning there's no intermediary, there's no angel that he's speaking to, and that would feed into Christian theology, seemingly. Why? Because the Christians would say that we see before that these men are called Yahweh, or these men are used interchangeably as Yahweh, and so therefore there is those 3 angels that went away, or those 3 messengers that went away, and he's still speaking to Yahweh. So that proves that this conversation was this conversation was now is with Yahweh directly, and before, when it was with the angels that are called Yahweh, it was Yahweh embodied in some kind of human form. That's what the Christians would claim. However, we see that it's not the case, that even when it says that these men went away and that he remained standing before Yahweh, that actually it seems that only 2 of them went away and a 3rd one stood there standing with Abraham. And how do we know this? Because now we see 2 verses. So let's go back here to, let me just find the first verse. So it says, verse 33, and Yahweh went away after he finished speaking to Abraham, and Abraham returned to his place. So according to the Christians, what they're going to say is that this is now Yahweh, this is now Abraham speaking directly to the Father, Yahweh. But it doesn't make sense, because what does this mean? Yahweh went away when he finished speaking to Abraham, and Abraham returned to his place. Because remember, Abraham was accompanying these 3 messengers as after they had stopped by his tent. Okay, so now we see that it seems like this is the departure of two creatures. I won't say human beings, but of one angel and Abraham that are physically on this earth departing ways. Right? It wouldn't make sense if we're speaking about Yahweh up in heaven for it to say that Yahweh went his way after he finished speaking to Abraham, and Abraham went back to his place. This is the way two physical creatures depart. So therefore, we see that this is one of the angels stayed behind. He's called Yahweh. Two of the angels went ahead towards Sodom. One stayed behind, finished speaking to Abraham. And in other words, when Abraham is having this argument with Yahweh over the 50 people, getting them down to 10 people, this is with that third messenger, that third angel that stays behind speaking to Abraham. And again, he's interchangeably called Yahweh, but it's the conversation is through this third angel. Then the third angel goes his way. The other two angels go to Sodom, and they take care of business in Sodom. Okay, why is this important? Why is it important? 1 second. This is important because if we understand it this way, then it goes against what the Christians like to say, that that God takes on a bodily form. Because what the Christians are going to say is that there's a distinction, that there's the three angels and there's Yahweh, who Abraham stayed behind speaking to. So when it says he's speaking to Yahweh here, when he bargains down from 50 to 10, he's speaking to Yahweh directly. In other words, let's say through a dream or through a vision. Yahweh is up in heaven, so to speak. And but beforehand, he was speaking to these other creatures that were also called Yahweh, and those are Yahweh in bodily form. In other words, Yahweh can take on bodily form, and at the same time, be spoken to up in heaven. So if we understand that what's going on here is one stays behind and then is also called Yahweh, then this goes against this Christian idea that God can take on a bodily form. It's not God taking on a bodily form. It's angels, what we call angels, messengers of Yahweh, who are on earth. And when it says that Abraham is speaking back and forth with Yahweh, it's speaking all the time about interacting with these messengers. They're not God in human form. They're messengers of God, and it could be said interchangeably that Abraham is speaking with God or Abraham is speaking with these men, because they represent. Just quit WhatsApp here because it's bothering me. They represent Yahweh on this earth, but they are not Yahweh in physical form. Okay, I don't know if I explained that well enough, but I do want to move on. I hope it kind of makes sense what I'm saying. They saw messengers of Yahweh who spoke with his authority. Exactly. Okay, and that does not imply that this is God in man form. It just implies that when the patriarchs are speaking with Yahweh, that they're actually speaking with angels, and it's used interchangeably when it says the angels or the messengers, the men, and Yahweh. It means they're speaking to Yahweh through these angels, or these angels are transmitting the messages of Yahweh. That's why an angel is called a malach. A malach means a messenger. In fact, the word malach is used a bunch of times throughout the Tanakh just to mean a messenger. In other words, someone who comes with a message from somebody else, not a messenger of God. That's called a malach Yahweh or malach Elohim. That's what we would call an angel. But really, the word malach just means a messenger, and an angel is just a messenger of God. It's a malach Yahweh, a messenger of God. Okay, Genesis 19. So now that third angel went his way, and now two are remaining, and they come to Sodom. ולוט ישב בשער סדום, וירא לוט ויקם לקראתם, וישתחו אפיים ארצה. So Lot has learned well from Uncle Abraham. So remember that there were three brothers. There was Abraham, Nahor, and Haran. Haran died. Haran gave birth to Lot. And Haran died in Haran, in in a place called Haran with a Hayat. And then basically Abraham adopted Lot. So and Nahor is going to give birth to Lavan, who is going to be, well, we'll get to him of course later. So Lot, just like his uncle Abraham, sees these strangers, and just like Abraham did in the previous chapter, feels this need to, give them hospitality. He's learned from his uncle Abraham that this is what you do to strangers, for strangers. Verse 2. Vayomer hine na Adonai suru na el bet avdechem walinu warahatzu raglechem washkamtem wahalachtem ledarchem yomru lo ki berchov nalin. So Lot almost repeats what Abraham did. He says, come in, wash your feet, stay the night. It's almost, I wouldn't say word for word, but the same thing that Abraham offered the 3 strangers, Lot is now offering these 2 remaining strangers. And they said, no, we're going to sleep in the square, in the town square. Verse 3. Wayifsar ba me'od wa yasuru elau wa yavo el beito wa ya'as lahem mishte masot fa v'yochlu. So he made for them a huge feast. He presses them to come into his house, and they do, and he makes a huge feast for them. Terem ishkavu wa anshe ha'ir anshe Sodom na sabu al habayet min ar wa ad zaken kol am mikatse. So here all of the city of Sodom is now surrounding the house. We know the story. V'yikru el Lot v'yamru lo ayeh ha'anashim asher ba'u elecha halayla hutzim elenu v'nid'a otam. So they want now to rape these 2 strangers that have come into Lot's house. Really does seem like New York City. I mean, seriously. I mean, you can get raped, you can get murdered, you can get mugged, you can get carjacked. I mean, it really is a Sodom and Gomorrah. Verse 6, Vayitze alehem Lot apetha wahadelet sagar aharau v'yemer al na hay tareu. My brothers, don't do this evil. Don't do this evil that you're intending to do. Verse 8, Hine na li shte banot asher lo yad'u ish otzi'a na ethen elechem wa'asu lahen katov be'anechem rak la'anashim ha'el al ta'asu davar ki al ken ba'u betzer korati. So now Lot offers his 2 daughters. He says, I'll translate. Hine na li shte banot asher lo yad'u ish. Behold, now I have 2 daughters who have never had relations with a man. Otzi'a na ethen, I will bring them out. Elechem, I'll bring them out to you. Vasulem katov be'anechem. Do to them as seems good in your eyes. Do to them whatever you want. Rak la'anashim ha'el. But to these men, al tasu davar, don't do anything. Ki al ken ba'u b'tzer korati, because of the fact that they came under the shadow, literally the shadow of my roof. But they came into my house, they're under my protection. I have to protect them. So this seems ridiculous. Okay, a lot of feminists would say this is proof that women were just chattel. Women were not respected in the Tanakh, in the Torah. That is, why is this not charging? There we go. Let's try that again. That is an absolute bunch of baloney. We have to understand what's going on here. So there are 2 things that are going on, which will have this verse, or help this verse to make a lot of sense. So I will just quote here. Sam Suri says, I am of Serbian descent. Yay. And the one of the greatest sins you can commit is to be a bad host to your guests and your travels. Exactly. That is the point. And it's explicit here in this verse. Okay. It even says, don't you do to them. I'll read it. Rak la'anashim ha'el al tasu davar. But only to these men, don't do anything. Don't do a single bad thing. Ki al ken ba'u b'tzev korati, because for that reason they have come under the shadow of my roof. In other words, they're under my protection. So you cannot do any. Please don't do anything to them, because they taken refuge in my house. There is, throughout the Middle East, and I would say much of the world, and certainly we see in Serbia as well, there is this idea that if a guest comes into your house, he's like a king. He is coming to your house. He deserves your protection. It says here, for that reason, they've come into my house. They've come under the roof, the shadow of my roof. Right? It's like a sacred obligation for a host to protect the guests that come into his house. Remember, they wanted to sleep out in the street. They wanted to sleep out in the town square. And Lot said, "No, don't do that. Come into my house." He pressed them to come into the house, and he did that because he now knows, or I won't say because he now knows, but he now knows that once they're in his house, that he has to offer them protection. That is his responsibility as the owner of the house, as the host, and they are the guest in a foreign place, in a strange place, that it is his solemn duty to protect them. So that's the first thing. The other thing we have to realize is that as horrible as it is for him to toss his own daughters to the crowd, given the choice, or given the two alternatives, the sex, if they were to have sex with the daughters, then at least that's natural sex. That's male female sex. It's horrible. It's rape for sure, as we see at the end of the book of Judges, when that happens with the Benjaminite who rapes the concubine. But at least it's normal, natural sex. If these two men were to come out and they were to get raped anally by the crowd, then that is obviously deviant sex. And so, given the choice between the two, Lot, who's obviously, not in a very, happy position one way or another, it's not either choice is not good. But his thinking is clearly that better that natural sex with my daughters occurs rather than these strangers get taken out and basically raped in the butt by the entire town. At least it's horrible, but at least it's natural vaginal male female sex rather than deviant sex. Okay, I think you guys get the idea. At any rate, those two things coming together explain why Lot would even offer such a thing. In addition, I would claim, I haven't looked at the commentaries, but I bet some of the commentaries pick it up. Yeah, welcome to Sodom. I bet some of the commentaries pick it up that Lot wasn't really serious when he offered his daughters. I think he was making how should we say, a rhetorical kind of offer. He was showing how serious it was by saying to these people he would even offer his own daughters instead of this sick deviant act that they wanted to do, that they wanted to drag strangers who are under the protection of his roof out into the street and have deviant sex with them. I think that when he says a statement that take my daughters instead, he's trying to show the townspeople how serious an offense it is that he's even willing to give his own two virgin daughters to them in place of the strangers. Furthermore, a fourth point I would make is that they would not even accept, they wouldn't even accept the offer of his two daughters, because they were obviously looking for something more than just normal relations between, well, it's not normal in this case, but they were looking for something really deviant. They were looking to basically rape these strangers. It wasn't just about the sex part of it. It was about the rape, how shall we say, the oppression, or the complete conquering and embarrassment and shaming and destruction of these strangers, because if you take these strangers, right, there's something much more sick or deviant about taking strangers out of someone's house, male strangers, and raping them in the butt. And that's really what they were looking for. They were looking for this kind of thrill of almost like the Hamasniks, that when they came into southern Israel, they weren't just looking to kill soldiers or to, they were looking for some deviant stuff. They were looking to really do some. They were looking for some deviant torture, rape, bondage, and torture, which is exactly what they carried out. So there's something about when a society goes so far off the rails, off the derech, that just normal sex with the daughters would not have been something they even wanted. They really wanted to rape these strangers. They wanted to basically, shame them, have power over them, destroy them, which is exactly why anal sex between men is punishable by death in the Torah, because when you anally rape another man, you've in a certain sense destroyed his very, his manhood, his essence, who he is. So I don't think so. For all of those reasons, I'll go over the 4 reasons again. I think that this passage is misunderstood, or when the modern, liberal feminists say, "Oh, look, this just shows that women were just chattel in ancient times." Why? That's a bunch of baloney. Again, the 4 reasons. Okay, number 1 is that these strangers came into Lot's house for protection, and there's a sacred obligation of a host to protect those who come into his house, to protect his guests with their very lives. You'll see this all over the Middle East. You'll see this in many, many traditional societies. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2 is that even if they had sex with the 2 daughters instead of with the strangers, that would have been, I won't say call it normal sex, but it would have been sex between a male and a female. Whereas with the 2 strangers, it would have been deviant sex. And Lot, given the choice between the 2, thought that better it be normal male female sex rather than this this deviant sex. Reason number 3 is that it was really rhetorical. I don't think Lot was seriously. I think he would have if they had offered, but I think Lot knew that they would not take him up on the offer, and so therefore it was Lot's way of showing the townspeople just how horrible a crime it was what they wanted to do. So much so that he was even saying, "Listen, this is so horrible that I'm even willing to offer my 2 virgin daughters to you instead of this." He's trying to explain to them what a horrible crime it is that they're intending to commit. And number 4, I think Lot believed, and rightfully so, that they would not have taken him up on the offer for the 2 daughters anyway, because they were looking for something more, than just regular male female sex. They were looking for deviant sex, and they were looking to destroy these guests, because that's what evil people do. It's not enough just to have relations. They want to rape, murder, and pillage, just like the Hamasniks when they came into southern Israel. I don't have to go over the list of horrors, but you've seen the videos going around, and you've heard what these subhumans did to the 1,500 Jews in southern Israel, and some of the acts are just indescribable. Okay, so that's my explanation of these verses. Okay, any questions, any comments before we move on? Okay, then let's go on. Okay, verse 9. ויאמרו גש חלה ויאמרו האחד ויאמרו אחד בא לגור וישפוט שפוט אתה נרע לך מהם ויצרו באיש בנות מאוד ויקשו לשבור הדלת. Okay, so right. Yamru Gesh Hala. So they said to Lot, come here. And then they said, "Ha'echad ba'al lagur." This one man has come. This particular person has come to to sojourn among us. As a stranger among us. Wa'yishpot shapot, and now he dares to judge us. Ata nera lecha mehem. Now we're going to do even worse to you than what we planned to do to them. We sparuba ish balot ma'od, and they started basically ganging up on Lot. And they tried to break down the door. Verse 10. What is going on here? Oh no, it didn't freeze again, did it? Shoot. What the hell is going on here? Oh shit. It froze again. I don't know why it keeps on doing this. I really don't know. I just have to wait again. I don't know what the problem is. I really don't know. Okay, we just have to wait, people. Well, I can read ahead. וישלחו האנשים את ידם ויביאו את לוט עליהם הביתה ואת הדלת סגרו. Oh, now what's going on here? Ah, shoot. Damn it. What the heck is going on here? Okay, now it's back up. Okay, I don't know what happened there. Let me just check in to make sure we're still online here. Yes, we are. Okay, let me do a sound check. Can you guys hear me okay? Because again, it froze up for a second. I don't know why it keeps on doing this. I actually reinstalled Chrome and I did some other things that I thought would help. But it's doing it again. So I don't know why. Let me just see one thing here. Okay, it's a little bit better. Not really. I don't understand why. All right, whatever. You guys can hear me okay? Okay. Let me just do one thing here. Let's see. Okay. Okie doke. Let's go on then. No. This is slow again. One second, please. This is 19. One second. It's got to be StreamYard, I guess. Just don't understand why. One second. Okay, so I guess we can read this. So Lot's shocking offer, about which the narrator characteristically makes no explicit judgment, is too patly explained as the reflex of an ancient Near Eastern code in which the sacredness of the host-guest bond took precedence over all other obligations. Lot surely is inciting the lust of the would-be rapists and using the same verb of sexual knowledge they had applied to the visitors in an offer to proffer the virginity of his daughters for their pleasure. The concluding episode of this chapter, in which the drunken Lot unwittingly takes the virginity of both his daughters, suggests measure for measure justice meted out for his rash offer. Okay. Okay. Okay, let's go back to where we were. So I disagree. I think it clearly is that Lot is making that decision. Okay, so somebody, where were we? Look, outside. Whoops. Okay. וישלחו האנשים את ידם ויביאו את לוט אליהם הביתה ואת הדלת סגרו. So now the men are already in the house. And they close the door. ואת האנשים אשר פתח הבית. One second. ואת הדלת סגרו. וישלחו אנשים את ידם ויביאו את לוט אליהם הביתה ואת הדלת סגרו. I'm not sure if they're inside or out. It's a bit confusing to me. Anyway, let's go on. ואת האנשים אשר פתח הבית היכו בסנוורים מקטון ועד גדול ויראו למצוא הפתח. So the men who were in the entrance of the house, I guess they're inside the house. Right. So these, okay, hold on a second. Let me just get my bearings here. אחד בא לגור וישפוט שפוט אתה ונראה לך הם יצפרו באיש בלוט מאוד ביקשו לשבור הדלת וישלחו האנשים את ידם ויביאו okay, I got it. וישלחו האנשים, okay. I'm sorry. So verse 10 is וישלחו האנשים את ידם ויביאו את לוט עליהם הביתה ואת הדלת סגרו. So these are the two men, the two visitors, these two angels, they reached out their hands and they bring Lot inside into the house and they close the door behind them. So we have Lot and the two men and Lot's two daughters and whoever else is in his family, his wife, who turns into a pillar of salt in the end, inside the house. And then we have all the townspeople outside the house. And now these two men, these two angels who are inside Lot's house, they strike the throng, the crowd outside of Lot's house with blindness, from the smallest until the largest, meaning all the from the young until the old. And they had trouble finding the opening of the door. Okay, so they blind everyone in Sodom, to make a long story short. Okay, let's see if we can get a little commentary on that. And why is this so damn slow? It's really annoying. Okay, whatever. Okay. So that's verse 11. Okay. Verse 12. Uh-oh. Here we go. Verse 12. ויאמרו האנשים אל לוט עוד מי לך פה פה חתן ובניך ובנותיך וכל אשר לך בעיר יוצא מן המקום. So basically ויאמרו האנשים אל לוט עוד מי לך פה. Who else is here with you? Your son-in-law, your sons, your daughters. Basically, get the heck out of Sodom. Verse 13. כי משחיתים אנחנו את המקום הזה, כי גדלה צעקתם את פני יהוה וישלחנו יהוה לשחתה. So they say, we're going to destroy this place, so get out of here. Verse 14. ויצא לוט וידבר אל חתונו לוקחי בנותיו ויאמר קומו צאו מן המקום הזה כי משחית יהוה את העיר ויהי כי מצחק בעיני חתונו. Okay, so Lot spoke to his sons-in-law, the ones who had taken his daughters as wives, and he said to them, arise and get out of this place, because Yahweh is going to destroy the city. And they were and he wasn't taken seriously. They basically his sons-in-laws laughed at him. They thought he was full of crap. Okay. וכמו השחר עלה ויעיצו המלאכים בלוט לאמור קום קח את אשתך ואת שתי בנותיך הנמצאות פן תספר בעוון העיר. So he gives up on the, so basically that's the end of the sons-in-laws. They're going to stay behind and get destroyed. So now here's something else that's a little bit interesting that I just realized right now. So he says to his sons-in-laws, the ones who had married his daughters, but earlier he says, I have two daughters who have never known a man, who have never slept with a man. And he's talking about the same daughters because there's no other daughters in the story. But here we see he's talking to his sons-in-law who had married his daughters. So I guess maybe he was actually lying about this. They were not virgins. He was just telling them, he was telling the crowd they were virgins, I guess maybe to entice them. But we can see clearly here that they were not virgins because they were married. Because he had sons-in-law. Either that or maybe they were engaged, but that wouldn't make sense. That would be too much of a strange interpretation. The most obvious interpretation, I think, is that he was actually lying to them when he said that he had two virgin daughters. He was just telling them that. Okay. At any rate, so they think he's, they think he's full of crap, basically. So now the angels, and literally here, I think for the first time, they're called malachim, angels, messengers of God. So they press him and they say, "Kum na kach et ishtecha ve'et shtei banotecha ve'nimtzet pen tisafeh be'awon ha'ir." So take your two daughters and your wife and your two daughters, and get out of here, lest you get destroyed with the city. You get washed away with the city. So that's it. He gives up on the son-in-laws. Think he's full of baloney. They won't go. So he just takes his wife and his two daughters. And yes, he's going to have relations with those two daughters afterwards. Verse 16. Vayit mahma wa yahsiku hanashim bi yado ubiyad ishto ubiyad shte benotao v'hemlat Yahweh alau wa yotziuhu wa yanihuhu michutz la'ir. So he hesitated, and then these two men, they grabbed Lot and his daughters, his wife and his daughters, Yahweh, because Yahweh had mercy on him, and they dragged him out of the city and set him down outside of the city. Verse 17. Wahi ki otzi'am otam chutza yomer himalet al nafshecha al tabit acharecha. And when they took him out of the city, they said to him, himalet al nafshecha, run for your lives, or run for your life. Al tabit acharecha, and don't look behind you. Al ta'amod bechol hakikar hahara hahara himalet pen tisafeh. So run for your lives. Don't even look behind you. There's no time to even look behind you, and don't hesitate or don't stand anywhere. Don't stop anywhere. or don't stop anywhere in the entire Kikar, the entire plain. Remember, when Lot and Abraham separated, we saw this in last week's Parsha, Abraham gave Lot the choice, which way do you want to go? And Lot looked at the Kikar Yarden, the plain, the Jordan plains, and said that it looked very fertile, like the garden of God, it even said. And so that's where he chose. And so now this entire plain is now going to be destroyed. So run up into the mountains. We're talking about into the Judean hills. So run up into the Judean hills, literally says into the hills or into the mountains, lest you get swept away. And Lot said to them, please, no, my masters. And Adonai, in this case, does not mean God. It means the two messengers he's speaking to, my masters. Hine na matza avdecha chen meinecha u'tagdel hazdecha asher asita imadi lachayot et nafshi v'anochi lo uchal lemale et ahara pen tidbakeni hara wa'mati. So basically, to paraphrase, Lot saying, I don't want to go up into the mountains because I'm afraid that I'm going to get destroyed up there. So he suggests another alternative. Verse 20, Hine na ha'ir hazot karova lanu shama vahi mitzar amalet nashama halo mitzar hi ut'i nafshi ut'i nafshi. Okay. Behold, hine na ha'ir hazot karova lanu shama. There's a city nearby that I can flee to. Again, I'm paraphrasing. The he mitzar, and it's a very small city. Imalta na shama, halo mitzar utachi nafshi. Let me flee there. It's is it not a very small city? And let me live. So basically, he's saying he doesn't want to go up into the mountains because who knows why? He thinks for some reason that the plague is or the destruction is going to reach up into the mountains. But maybe he has other ulterior motives. But he's sitting nearby. Let him flee to that small city. V'yomer elau hine nasati panecha gam ledavar hazeh levilti afchi et ha'ir asher dibarta. And the angels basically say, okay, we're going to agree to that. We're not going to destroy that city because of your request. Again, I'm paraphrasing. Verse 22, Maher hi malet shama ki lo uchal la'asot davar ad ba'cha shama al ken kara shema ir soar. So get to that city quick because we can't not start the destruction until you're in that city. And al ken kara shema ir soar. And the name of the city, because of that, the city was called Tzoar. Okay, so why is it called Tzoar? Let's explain that very briefly. Let me just check and see this. So is it possible to be married but never touched because the people in the city were homo? That's ridiculous, Christian. No, of course not. And then why would they even marry them? That's I'm sorry. That's ridiculous. Okay. Okay. So why is the city called Tzoar? Lot doesn't want to flee up into the mountains. He says there's a small city nearby. The name or the word for small or insignificant is mis'ar. Mis'ar. In modern and in biblical Hebrew, you have a word za'ir. Za'ir means like tiny or insignificant or negligible, and it's the same root here. Mitzar. Even look it up for a second. A small thing. Okay. Okay. So basically what Lot is saying is, listen, I don't want to go up into the hills. I'm afraid that the, whatever is going to happen is going to come up into the hills, almost like you could think of it almost like an eruption of a volcano. And he's afraid that if he goes up into the hills, and then the lava is going to flow up into the hills and destroy him there as well. For whatever reason, he doesn't want to go up to the hills. It's not really made 100% clear. He likes this little city. He says it's a tiny little city. Let me go there. It's a strange request. Why would he think that this city is any safer? But he goes to the city, this tiny little city. The word for small city or small place is mitzar, and therefore the name of the city becomes Zoar. Zoar. Okay, and Zoar appears a bunch of times in the Tanakh, in other places. We just look at a couple. Let's see, there's one we want to focus on. So maybe here, Genesis 13:10. Let's go to that for 1 second. We just read that, I think, 2 weeks ago. So it says, we read this, I guess, 2 weeks ago. It's like the garden of Yahweh, like the land of Egypt as you go towards Zoar. So wherever Zoar is, it seems to be in the direction of Egypt. So maybe it was out of the plain a little bit south. Maybe they've dug it up. I'm not really sure. We can look at it for a second and go to Rabbi Wikipedia and see what he has to say. Spell it in English. Zoara. Okay, Zoara, the biblical Zoar, was one of the 5 cities of the plain, Pentapolis at the time of Abraham. It was a highly fertile valley, apparently located along the lower Jordan Valley and the Dead Sea Plain mentioned in the book of Genesis. The city was said to have been spared the brimstone fire which destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah in order to provide a refuge for Lot and his daughters. It is mentioned by Josephus. Okay, forget about Josephus. So Zoar, okay, so according to this, and again, I'm not sure exactly where they're getting this from, but according to this map, there's Zoar. Oops. So Zoar is down by the, I can't go down here. Okay. Oops, let's do that. Okay, so Zoar is down here. It's on the western side of the southwestern edge of the Dead Sea. So that would be in modern day Jordan. And it definitely seems to be out of the plain, or out of the main part of the Jordan, the Kikar Yarden, the Jordan plain, which Lot had been told to get out of. Okay. So let's see what else we could say about this. So Zoara, meaning small or insignificance in Hebrew, a little one, as Lot called it, was a city east of Jordan, in the valley of Siddim, near the Dead Sea, along with Sodom, Amorah, Admah, and Zeboim. Zoar was one of the 5 cities slated for destruction by God, but Zoar was spared at Lot's plea as his place of refuge. That's what we just read right now. Segor is a Septuagint form of Zoar. Zoar is mentioned in Isaiah 15:5 in connection with the nation of Moab. This connection with Moab would be consistent with a location near the lower Dead Sea. Okay. So later. So much later. Archaeology, we can read a little bit. Prior to the major archaeological excavations in the 1980s and 1990s that took place in Zoara, scholars proposed that several sites in the area of Kirbet, Sheikh Isa, and Al-Naq offered further evidence of Zoara's location and history. Blah, blah, blah. We can skip ahead a little bit. Several excavation surveys have been conducted in the area, the ruins of a basilical church. Okay, we don't need to know anymore. Okay. So that's it. That's Zoar. So Zoar is one of the 5 cities of the Jordan Plain. It's on the southeast corner of the Dead Sea. It's in modern day Jordan, and we know that Lot asked the angels to go there instead of up into the hills, giving some stupid excuse that he thinks that the destruction will reach up into the hills. I don't know why. I'd be curious to see what some commentators say about that about why Lot made that request. Let's see if Robert Alter has anything to say. Jeez, why is this stupid thing so damn slow? Okay, I cannot flee to the high country. Lot seems a weak character. He has to be led out of the hand by the hand from the city, and his zigzagging determination of flight make psychological sense. Accustomed to an urban setting, he is terrified at the idea of trying to survive in the forbidding landscape of cliffs and caves to the south and east of the Dead Sea. Okay, so he's saying that he's talking about the mountains that are east of the Dead Sea, not west of the Dead Sea, but okay. But once having settled in the little town of Zoar, he has understandable premonitions of another cataclysm, and so decides after all, the rocky wilderness is the lesser of two evils. A small place, the Hebrew meets Ar, plays on the name Tzor, and for once this could be a correct etymology. Lot's point is that, after all, only a piddling town, and so would not be asking a great deal to spare it from destruction. Right, exactly. Okay, so that brings us up to where we were. Let me just close off some of these windows here. Okay, verse 23. Hashemesh yasa al ha'aretz v'lot ba so'ara. So the sun set upon the land, and Lot came to Zoar. I think it means sun rose, even though Yatzah Hashemesh usually means sunset. Oh, I'm sorry. No, it always means sun. My mistake. It's Avaba. So the sun rose upon the land, because remember earlier, so it was when Allah, so when the darkness dissipated, this means basically dusk. When dusk began, that's when these people said, get the heck out of here. Lot says, I don't want to go into the hill country. I want to go to this small city. Tzor, where's Shoham? He's outside, I think, meowing. You want to bring him in? So the angels, the two remaining angels, when dusk began, in other words, when night ended and dusk began, but the sun had not yet risen, then these people pressed Lot to get the heck out of Sodom. That's when he bargains. I guess like Abraham, he's bargaining for something with God, but this is a different kind of bargain. There, Abraham was bargaining for the lives of the righteous remaining in Sodom, and there weren't even 10. Here, Lot is bargaining for himself. He doesn't want to go into the hill country. Instead, he wants to go to this insignificant little city called Zoar. And so they say that to hurry up there because they have to wait until he gets there before they can start destroying Sodom and Gomorrah. And then it says when the sun rose, then Lot came into Zoar. So it couldn't have been that far away, because here we have dusk, and basically the angels are kicking him out of Sodom. And at sunrise, or I guess soon after sunrise, is when Lot arrived in Zoar. So it must have been really nearby. So wherever Zoar is and wherever Sodom is, they're not too far away from each other, because Lot had to get there essentially between dawn. Did I say dusk? If I said dusk, I mean dawn and sunrise. Okay, and here we go. Destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. Yahweh himtir al Sodom wa al Amorah gofrit wa ish me'it. Yahweh min hashamayim. And Yahweh rained down upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah gofrit. Gofrit is usually translated as sulfur. And in modern Hebrew, gofrit is indeed sulfur. Here they translate as brimstone. Wa ish. So fire and brimstone, there it is. Gofrit va'esh, brimstone and fire, me'et Yahweh, from Yahweh, meaning it was done by Yahweh directly, mina shemayim, from the heavens. V'yafoch et ha'arim ha'el wa'et kol ha'kikar wa'et kol yoshvei ha'arim wa'tzemach ha'adama, and he overturned these cities and all of the plain, the Jordan plain, which Lot, now looking back on it, remember Lot said, oh, this is a great place. Remember, Abraham gave Lot, we spoke about this last week, Abraham gave Lot the choice. You want to go to the left, I'll go to the right. You go to the right, I'll go to the left. Abraham gave Lot the choice. And Lot looked at the Jordan plain and he said, wow, that looks like very fertile land. It looks like a looks like a water garden, like the garden of God. I'm gonna go there. And Avram said, okay, you go there. I'll go in the other direction. And that's when Avram went to Alon Mamre. That's when he went to Hebron, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And so it looked like a great choice. Was it a great choice? Apparently not, because now the entire Kikar, remember, this is what he chose. He chose the Kikar, the plain, the Jordan plain. And now this entire Jordan plain is being overthrown with fire and brimstone, and all of the inhabitants are being destroyed, and as well as the plants, all human beings and all plants. So everything is completely destroyed. So we look back on it. We spoke about this last week. Let's just look back on that very, very quickly. I'll just do it in the English. So the Genesis 14, maybe. War of the Kings, Lot. One second. It's not. No, that's already getting so Lot's already gone by then. Let's see, Lot. Oh, it's before this. Second. Yeah, Abraham and Lot part ways. So in Genesis 13, verse 7, there were arguments between the shepherds, not the shepherds, the flock herds, the ones guarding the cattle of Avram and those of Lot. And here in verse 8, this is Genesis chapter 13, verse 8. Wayomer Avram el Lot. Avram said to Lot, this is before he's named Abraham, Al nat imeriba beni ubenecha. Let us not fight. I'm paraphrasing. Uben ro'ai uben ro'echa, and between your shepherds and my shepherds, ki anashim achim anachnu, because we are brothers. Hello, kol haaretz lefanecha, hipared na me'alai im asmol wa amina wa im yamin asmila. So the entire land is before you. Okay. Let's separate. If you choose to if you go to the left, I'll go to the right. If you go to the right, I'll go to the left. So Abraham is giving Lot the choice here in Genesis chapter 13, verse 9. And Lot, we saw Lot et we are et kol kikar Yarden. And Lot lifted up his eyes and he saw the Jordan plains. Kikula mashke lifnei shachet Yahweh et Sodoma et Amorah, because it was very well watered, it was very fertile before, because this was before Yahweh destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. Kigan Yahweh ke'eretz Mitzrayim bo'achat zo'ar. It was like the garden of Yahweh. It was like a garden of Yahweh, like the Garden of Eden. Ke'eretz Mitzrayim. It was like the land of Egypt. We spoke about that last week. Egypt is later on in Deuteronomy spoken about how it's like a vegetable garden that where it's watered at your feet because of the Nile River. It's like the land of Egypt when you go towards Tzoar, and there's a mention of the city of Tzoar. Okay, verse 11. And so Lot chose for himself the entire plains of the entire Jordan plain. So Lot traveled to the east, and Abraham and Lot separated from each other. So basically, Lot looks to this Jordan plain. So Abraham gives Lot the choice. You go left, you choose, Lot. Okay? Abraham is putting his faith in Yahweh. He's basically, we spoke about this last week. It's almost like a lot, not to play on it's a play on words, a lot, like a lottery. He's basically allowing fate, or allowing Yahweh to choose which way he should go. Abraham is. Lot, he sees glittering gold, meaning he sees very fertile, well-watered land in the Jordan plain, and he says, okay, I'm going to go there. I'm going to take the best for myself. And Abraham says, okay, no problem. And then Abraham goes in the other direction. So it seems great. It seems like Lot made a terrific choice, whereas Abraham seems like a fool. But Abraham was placing his faith in Yahweh. Abraham was saying, I'll let this guy Lot choose whatever he wants, and I know that whatever's left over for me is what Yahweh for me. And it looked like a bad choice at the time. It looked like Lot is getting the fertile land, and Abraham is getting sent off into the desert, into the Negev. But that's obviously, we now see in retrospect that was not at all the case. That really, Lot's choice was the worst choice you could possibly make, because he ended up in Sodom, and he ended up in the entire plain, which he saw again as the garden of God. It says here, Kigran Yahweh, as the garden of God, and as well watered, as very extremely fertile, now is completely overturned with fire and brimstone. And meanwhile, Abraham is far away from this whole mess. So it turns out that Abraham, by putting his faith, Abraham put his faith in Yahweh, and even though it didn't look correct at the time, the right choice, he made the right choice, or the right choice was made for him by Yahweh. And Lot made the worst choice he could possibly make, which is going to a city that's going to be completely destroyed by fire and brimstone. Okay, so we see the difference, and I was saying this last week, we see the difference between a righteous man who has faith in Yahweh and allows fate to determine allows his faith to determine his fate, and a person like Lot, who has no faith, has really no knowledge of Yahweh, and he just sees the glittering gold and goes towards it, and this ends up being Sodom and Gomorrah, or this ends up being Sodom, which is eventually overturned. Okay. So, okay, so let's back up here. Okay, any questions, any comments before we go on? I'm going to end in about maybe half an hour. Any questions, any comments, anybody? Anybody? Okie dokie, so let's go on. Okay, Lot's wife looks back. We know about this one. V'tabet ishto nahara watei netziv melach. And remember, Lot was told explicitly, run for the hills, don't look back, don't stop until you get out of the plain of the Jordan. But his wife got a little bit too curious. Curiosity killed the cat. With the netziv melach, and she turned into a pillar of salt. Probably no big loss. That's one way to divorce your wife. Have her turned into a pillar of salt. Okay. Verse 27. Vayishkem Avraham baboker el hamakom asher amad sham et penei Yahweh. So I just want to get an English translation for this one. Let's go with Robert Alter. So this is 1927. Okay. Got it. Okay, so basically, Abraham here goes back to that place. Remember, he was standing with that third angel. The two angels went on to Sodom and Gomorrah. He was standing with the third angel. And then eventually they departed ways. The third angel tells him that Sarah is going to give birth. Now he goes back to that place to where they departed ways. I'm sorry, sell the birth? No, he told him what he was going to do with Sodom. And now he goes back to that place. Avram goes back specifically to that place where he spoke to that third angel. Verse 28, וישקוף על פני סדום ועמורה ועל כל פני ארץ הכיכר וירא והנה עלה קיטור הארץ כקיטור הכבשן. And he looks across the plains of Sodom and Gomorrah, in other words, across the Jordan Plain, and he sees smoke rising up like the smoke of a furnace. So goodbye, Sodom and Gomorrah. ויהי בשחת אלוהים את ערי הכיכר, ויזכור אלוהים את אברהם, וישלח את לוט מתוך ההפיכה, והפוך את הערים אשר ישב בהן לוט. So it was when God destroyed the cities of the plain, of the Jordan Plain, ויזכור אלוהים את אברהם, that God remembered Avraham, וישלח את לוט מתוך ההפיכה, and he got Lot out of the destruction, out of the overturning. When he overturned the cities in which Lot had dwelled. In other words, God did this not as a favor to Lot. Lot's an idiot, quite frankly. I mean, and that's another reason you could even say that he offered his daughters, because the guy's a complete idiot. Okay, he doesn't want to run up into the hills. He chooses this place that looks great, which turns out to be not such a good place. I mean, Lot is not Abraham, that's for sure. Maybe he's not a horrible person. He's definitely better than the townspeople of Sodom, but he's not so great that he would have warranted being saved on his own. God did this for Abraham because he was Abraham's nephew and kind of Abraham's adopted son. Okay. And proof that Lot is not such a great dude is coming up now. All right. Should we get a little commentary on that? Let's see what Robert Alter says. Okay. So it's 24. The slightly awkward repetition of "from the Lord" was the added phrase from the heaven taken together with the verb to rain, underscores the connection with the deluge story. The first time, the flood, the fire, next time. Okay. Moshe Weinfeld has aptly observed a whole series of parallels between the two stories. In each case, God wipes out a whole population because of epidemic moral perversion, marking one family for survival. In each case, the idiom "to keep a live seed" is used for survival. In each case, the male survivor becomes drunk and is somehow sexually violated by his offspring. Though only Lot is unambiguously represented as the object of an incestuous advance, one might add that the phrase used by the elder sister, "There's no man on earth to come to bed with us," equally reinforces the connection with the global cataclysm of the flood story. She looks out. Okay, interesting ideas. Basically, whoever this Moshe Weinfeld is trying to bring out similarities between the situation after the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah and the situation after the destruction after the flood. Okay, and his wife looked back and became a pillar of salt. As has often been observed, this tale looks doubly archaic, incorporating both an etiological story about a gynamorphic, that means shaped in the form of a woman, rock formation in the Dead Sea region, and an old mythic motif, as in the story of Orpheus and Eurydice. I don't know what that is. I probably studied it in high school and forgot it. Of a taboo against looking back and fleeing from a place of doom. But the blighted looking of Lot's wife is antithetically integrated with the looking out of Abraham in the next two verses over the scene of destruction from his safe vantage on the heights of Hebron. Okay. Let's look at that for a second. So what he's saying there is So he's relating. So Robert Alter's making a nice point. He's relating this word here, tabet, to this word yashkof, and saying here, the wife looked back, turned into a pillar of salt, and then Avraham, from his vantage point in the hills of Hebron, just looked out on the plains of Sodom and saw the smoke rising from it. So tabet means to look at, and yashkof means also another word which basically means to look at. So that's what Robert Alter is saying. He's relating those two words together. Okay, nice point. Early in the morning. Okay, we can skip that. He saw and the smoke was rising. The visual setup also represents the tight closing of an envelope structure. The Sodom episode began with Abraham's dialogue with God on the heights of Hebron. Now at the end, in a definition of visual perspective, unusual for biblical narrative, Abraham standing in the same place makes out from a distance of 40 or more miles the cloud of smoke rising from the incinerated cities. Okay. 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 So, okay, so now we get to Lot and his daughters. And then maybe after this, I'm just going to read through without any commentary to the end because I do want to finish off the parsha. We're supposed to get to the end of 22. And we're only in 19. So it's 20, 21, 22. Okay. Ya'al Lot mitzor. So Lot went up from Tzor. Remember, he was in the Tzor, this little city. וישב בהר ושתי בנותיו עמו כי ירא לשבת בצוהר וישב במערה הוא ושתי בנותיו. So basically, after this destruction, Lot says, oh my God, this little city Tzor, it doesn't look too safe either. I see that everything up in flames, or I see everything, smoke rising up from everything. I'm next. So he goes up into the hill country and lives in a cave. Let me just get water for a second, please. I'm thirsty. Dookie dookie. Okay. ותאמר הבכירה אל הצעירה אבינו זקן ואיש אין בארץ לבוא אלינו כדרך כל הארץ. So the older one says to the younger one, our father is old and there's not another man in all the land to come to us in the way of all the world, meaning, in other words, to come, have relations with us and bring us children. So they come up with a brilliant idea. לך נשקה את אבינו יין ונשכבה עמו ונחיה מאבינו זרע. So let's get our father drunk with wine and we'll have sex with him. And we will bring alive seed from our father. Basically, we'll have children with our father. Brilliant idea. These two geniuses, right? To come up with this one. So they think everything is. So they think that everything is destroyed. They think, all the world is destroyed. So they have no choice. If you were the last man on the face of the earth, I wouldn't. Well, when it comes down to the bottom line, these daughters said, well, there is only one man left on the face of the earth, and that just happens to be our father. So all bets are off. And so these two little geniuses decide, verse 33, ותשקנה את אביהן יין בלילה, תבוא הבכירה ותשכב את אביה ולא ידע בשכבה ובקומה. So they, I'm paraphrasing, they get their father drunk at night, on that night, and the older one has sex with her father, and he doesn't even realize when she lies down and when she gets up. In other words, he doesn't even realize what his daughter has, that he's had sex with his daughter. He's so drunk. Now, if you were a real Jew, he would sue his daughter for for lack of consent. This, I guess this is a little bit before the Me Too movement, reverse Me Too movement. I don't know. Anyway, some sick stuff. So, okay. Two little geniuses he raised there. Verse 35, ותשכנה גם בלילה ההוא את אביהן יין. And I guess on that same night, they got him drunk again. ותקם הצעירה ותשכב עמו ולא ידע בשכבה וקומה. And the same deal, the younger one has sex with her father, and again, he doesn't even realize, literally, b'shikva ubikuma, when she lies down and when she gets up. He doesn't realize he's had sex with his own daughter. So it's not his fault. I mean, it's his fault for raising two idiots, but besides that, he doesn't have any part in the act. And I guess you could say that even the daughters, I guess they thought they had a reason. It's not like it's just not pure deviance. It's something more going on. I guess they felt they had no choice, but still, it's pretty sick stuff, right? And remember, they're husbands, so they're not virgins after all. I don't think. If they were, that would even be more sick, that their own father takes their virginity. But I don't think they were virgins. It doesn't make sense because they had husbands. We saw that the sons-in-laws were left behind. At any rate, verse 36, ותראנה שתי בנות לוט מאביהן. Verse 37, ותלד הבכורה בן ותקרא שמו מואב. הוא אבי מואב עד היום. So the elder one gives birth and calls the son's name, calls his name Moab. So Moab, we see in the word Moab, so that's the Moabites. We'll see them later on in the Tanakh, in the Torah. So Moab has the word Av. Av means father. So Moab maybe is from Me'av, from my father. Mo, it's not really clear exactly what that means. Let's see if they give, maybe the BDB offers something more specific. Moab is symbolized as elder nation, son of an ancestor. Yeah, so it doesn't from prolonged from a prolonged form of the prepositional which means from, and Av, so from her father, right? Moab, an incestuous son of Lot, also his territory in the sense of Moab. So yeah, so that at least Strong's is agreeing with what I'm saying. So Moab is like Me'av, meaning from daddy. So he names her son from daddy. My gift from daddy. What a sick girl. Okay. Uavi Moab Adayom. Of course, there's some who say that this is all polemic against the people of Moab. We see that it is true that all of many of the nations that the Torah ends up despising are given these bad names or these bad stories in the Torah. Maybe Canaan is the most famous one. So Canaan did something. Canaan, the son of Ham, does something when his father is drunk. Noah wakes up and says, I know what my youngest son, speaking about Canaan, not about Ham, because Ham was not the youngest. Ham, Shem, Yafet, he was actually the oldest. So speaking about Canaan, and Canaan was the youngest of Ham. So there's always these weird origin stories for the nations that the Torah ends up going against, hating. So secular people would say that that is polemic against these nations. I guess we, as Torah observers, would say just the opposite. And we would say that because they had such strange origins that they turned into such evil nations. Okay, verse 38. "Atzira gam hi yalda ben watikra Shimon ben Ami." Okay, so the younger one gave birth and called his name the son of my people. Hu'av b'nei Ammon ad hayom, and this is the father of the Ammonites, the children of Ammon, until this day. So Ammon ben Ami became Ammon, or the people that grew out of this child named Ben Ami, the son of my people, or maybe more like the son of my father's house would be a good translation. Let's see the translator here. Son of my people. Right. I like maybe a better translation would be the son of my father's house or something like that. Ben Ami, hu avi bene Ammon adayom, and this is the father of the Ammonites, the children of Ammon, until this day. So we get the origin stories from Moab and Ammon. They're often lumped together, as we shall see later on. And we have these negative origin stories from many of the nations which the Torah ends up not liking. Okay, let's get a little bit of commentary, and then I think I'm going to have to stop. It's getting late. Okay, the narrator withholds all comment on the incestuous enterprise of the two virgin sisters. If they were indeed virgins, perhaps the story may draw on old pre-Israelite traditions in which the supposed origins of these two peoples in incest were understood as evidence of their purity or the vitality. One recalls that Tamar, the progenitrix, not to be confused with the dominatrix, of the future kings of Judah, become pregnant by her father. I love how Robert Alter uses these fancy words. Become pregnant by her father-in-law through pretending to be a whore. That's not a fancy word. But from the Israelite perspective, the story might well have cast a shadow of ambiguity over these two enemy peoples. Both names are etymologized to refer to incest. Moab, which probably means desired place, is constructed as Me'ab, from the father. And Ben Ami, yielding the gentilic Bnei Ammon, is constructed as my own kinsman's son. Okay. So let us lie with him. Although lie with is a somewhat euphemistic reference to coitus in English, its uses in scripture suggest it is rather coarse, though not obscene verb for sexual intercourse in biblical Hebrew. And that's true. The word, whenever you see shachav with regards to relations, it always means sexual intercourse. The two linked sexual assailants, the Egyptian woman in Genesis 39 and Amnon in 2 Samuel 13, that's Amnon and Tamar, use it in urging the objects of their lust to submit to them. When the verb is followed by a direct object in sexual contexts, the meaning seems close to rape. Ironically, the more decorous verb to know is used twice here asexually to indicate the drunken lot's unconscious state as he deflowers each of his daughters, or as his daughters deflower him. Okay, some good commentary there, but I don't have time to get into it. All right. Well, unfortunately, I think we're going to have to stop here. Okay, I'll read through this with no commentary whatsoever. Although I always say that. I'm going to read through Genesis 20, and then we'll stop. Okay, any questions, any comments? Yeah, there ain't no way I'm blocking Marianne. Just to let you know. I don't agree with her on her Christian stuff, but I've known her for years. We're from the same skydiving family. And yes, the skydiving community is basically like a family. So Not a chance in heck. If you don't like what Marianne is saying, and I definitely don't agree with her, then you'll have to work it out with her. But there's no way in hell and in heaven and on earth that she's getting blocked. She's welcome here anytime. Okay. Verse 20, Genesis chapter 20. ויסע משם אברהם ארצה הנגב, וישב בין קדש ובין שור, ויגר בגרר. Okay, so now we should point this out. I should add this. Samisham from Atza Negev, Shin Ben Kadesh Ben Shur Babigrar. So I guess we're gonna have to add this here. 2 patriarch journeys. So this is now Avraham. It's called Avraham. Avraham. This is Genesis 21. Place. Gerar. I guess I should do the whole thing. Okay. So I guess we can put here a comment after the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay. Yes, you were. You saved my life many times. Literally. Okay. Verse 2, ויאמר אברהם אל שרה אשתו, אחותי היא. אחותי היא, וישלח אבימלך מלך גרר ויקח את שרה. So now remember we had a similar situation before, and now we have it again. So follow along in the English. ויבוא אלוהים אל אבימלך בחלום הלילה, אומר לו, הנך מת על האישה אשר לקחת, היא בעולת בעל. Verse 4. ואבימלך לא קרב אליה, ויאמר אדוני, הגוי, גם צדיק תהרוג? הלא הוא אמר לי אחותי היא, והיא גם היא אמרה אחי הוא, בתם לבבי הוא, וניקיון כפיי עשיתי זאת. ויאמר אלוהו האלוהים בחלום גם אנוכי, בחלום, סמיקולן או כמה, גם אנוכי ידעתי כי בתום לבבך עשית זאת. אחשוך גם אנוכי אותך מחתו לי. אחסוך, I'm sorry. גם אנוכי אותך מחתו לי, על כן לא נתתיך לנגוע אליה. So we had a similar situation before, if you remember, when Abraham went down to Egypt. ואתה השב אשת האיש כי נביא הוא ויתפלל בעדך וחיה. ואם אינך משיב דע כי מות תמות אתה וכל אשר לך. See, now this is the way to defeat your enemies, when you know that God is behind you and fighting for you. If only Israel in its current war would have this kind of confidence in Yahweh, and Yahweh would stand up and say this for Israel, what he says here, say for Israel what he says here for Abraham. Verse 8, וישכם אבימלך בבוקר ויקרא לכל עבדיו וידבר את כל הדברים האלה באזניהם ויראו האנשים מאוד. Verse 9, ויקרא אבימלך לאברהם ויאמר לו מה עשית לנו מה חטאתי לך כי הבאת עלי ועל ממלכתי חטאה גדולה מעשים אשר לא יעשו עשית עמדי. So now Avimelech is really mad. ויאמר אבימלך אל אברהם מה ראית כי עשית את הדבר הזה. Genesis 20 verse 11, ויאמר אברהם כי אמרתי רק אין יראת אלוהים במקום הזה והראוני על דבר אשתי וגם אמנה אחותי בת אבי היא אך לא בת אמי ותהי לי לאישה. So now Abraham says that she is Sarah is, now we find out that Sarah is indeed Abraham's sister. They share a common father. Who is Abraham's father? Terach. So if we're to take this literally, bat doesn't always mean, by the way, daughter. It can mean granddaughter, descendant. So maybe her niece. But if we take it literally, then they share a common father, meaning Abraham's father who died in Haran, Terach. Ach lo bat imi ut'ili le'isha. But I think it's meant to be taken literally as sister. ויהי כאשר ידעו אותי אלוהים מבית אבי. And this is interesting. So, a couple of things. This verb itu means like to cause to wander aimlessly. And also, Elohim is usually used with the singular, but here Abraham is using it with the plural. And I wonder if that's because he's speaking, first of all, it could just be a scribal error, but I wonder if it's because he's speaking to Avimelech, who's a pagan who believes in multiple gods. I wonder if Robert Alter picks up on that. I'm going to guess he does. So that's 13, that's Genesis 20, 13. Jesus, so slowly. 2013. Okay. Yeah, he does pick up on it. When the gods made me a wanderer from my father's house. And I bet he's going to comment on that as well. Let's see here. Yeah, the gods made me a wanderer. The word Elohim, which normally takes a singular verb, though it has a plural suffix when it refers to God, as everywhere else in this episode, is here linked with a plural verb. Conventional translation procedure renders this as God or heaven, but Abraham, after all, is addressing a pagan who knows nothing of the strange new idea of monotheism, and it's perfectly appropriate that he should choose his words accordingly, settling on a designation of the deity that ambiguously straddles polytheism and monotheism. It is also noteworthy that Abraham, far from suggesting that God has directed him to a promised land, stresses to the native king that the gods have imposed upon him a destiny of wandering. Yeah, right on the money, but basically we just said this, right? So Robert Alters thinks like me. Okay, but in all seriousness, it is glaring here that the word Elohim is used with a plural verb, and that's such a strange verb, which implies not like a finding your place, but just the opposite, of like wandering off into nowhere, wandering aimlessly. Okay, mi beit aviv omar la זה חסדך אשר תעשי עמדי אל כל המקום אשר נבוא שמה אמרי לי אחי הוא. Verse 14, ויקח אבימלך צאן ובקר ועבדים ושפחות וייתן לאברהם וישב לו את שרה אשתו. So Avimelech returns Sarah to Abraham. ויאמר אבימלך הנה ארסי לפניך וטוב מעיניך שב. אמר הנה נתתי 1,000 כסף לאחייך, לאחיך, הנה הוא לך כסות עיניים, כסות עיניים. Wow, this is an important verb right here that has to do with Yom Kippurim. We've spoken about this before, but it's a covering for your eyes. I don't have time to get into it now, unfortunately. בכל אשר איתך, בכל ונוכח, I'm sorry, נוכחת. Okay, verse 17. ויתפלל אברהם אל האלוהים, וירפא אלוהים את אבימלך. And here we have Elohim in the singular, as opposed to what we saw above. את אבימלך ואת אשתו, ועם הותאו, וילדו. כי עצור יחווה בעד כל רחם לבית אבימלך על דבר שרה אשת אברהם. Okay, that's the end of 20. Now we have the birth of Isaac. God, this is such good stuff, but I just don't have time. I'm going to have to end it here, unfortunately. This is getting too late. So we're going to end it here. Okay, any questions, any comments before we end it? Aw, your life is worth saving. If not, then we're going to end it here. We've been going at it for about, I guess, 3 hours or so today. So that's enough. So I thank you all for joining me. And Be'ezarat Yahweh, with the help of God, we will see you all again next week. Who knows what's going to happen in Israel this week? Pray for Israel. Pray for the people of Israel. They need it. What they really need is to return to Yahweh. What they really need is to abandon their two false philosophies of Western culture / Western quote unquote democratic liberalism and rabbinical Judaism. That's what the nation of Israel really needs at this point. So pray that these horrible tragedies that are happening in Israel will at least teach the people of Israel to return to Yahweh and to come back to his true Torah. That's really, I think, what all of this is about. Sadly, it's unfortunate these horrible things that happen to old people, children. I mean, these subhumans, they have no, I don't even like to think about it. But, and of course, Israel is not doing enough to get back at them. If it were up to me, if I were prime minister, there already 3 weeks ago, there would have been no more Gaza. It would now be just an abandoned way. It would be like Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay. All right. So with that, we're going to end it here. And we'll go out with some music. as usual. Let's go back here. So I thank you all for coming. And we'll take it out with some nice music. Let's do this one for our little Christian friend here. Marianana Nanana Banana. I can never get her name right. Well, her nickname right. Okay. Let's give you a nice Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. All right. There we go. Hold on a second. I gotta.
Shadrach. There were 3 children from the land of Israel. Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. They took a trip to the land of Babylon. Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. Nebuchadnezzar was the king of Babylon. Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. Took a lot of gold and he made an idol. Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. And he told everybody when they heard the music of the cornet. And he told everybody when they heard the music of the clarinet. And he told everybody when they heard the music of the horn. You must bow down and worship the idol Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. But the children of Israel would not bow down, not Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. You couldn't fool them with no golden idol Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. The king put the children in the fiery furnace. Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. He found the coals and the red hot brimstone. Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. 7 times hotter than it ought to be. Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. Burned up the soldiers that the king had put there. Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. But the Lord sent an angel with snowy white wings down in the middle of the furnace. Yeah! Talking to the children about the power of the gospel. Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. Couldn't even harm a hair around the head of Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. Laughing and talking while the fires had jumping. Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. Oh, Nebuchadnezzar called. Oh, yeah. When he saw the power of the Lord, and they had a big time in the house of Babylon. Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. Shadrach.
שיר למעלות, אשא עיניי אל הרים, מאין יבוא עזרי, עזרי מאמא שעושה שמיים בארץ, אל יתן למות רגליך, אל ינום שומרך, הנה לא ינום ולא יישן שומר ישראל, השם שומרך, השם צלך, הוא יד ימינך. יומם השמש לא יככה, וירח בלילה. השם ישמורך מכל רע, ישמור את נפשך. השם ישמור את צאתך ובואך, מעתה ועד עולם. מעתה ועד עולם. שיר למעלה, אשא עיניי אל הרים, מאין יבוא עזרי מעמש, עושה שמיים בארץ, אל תן למות רגליך, אל ינום שומרך. הנה לא ינום ולא ישן, שומר ישראל. השם שומרך, השם צלך, יד ימינך. יומם השמש לא יככה, וירח בלילה. השם ישמורך מכל רע, ישמור את נפשך. השם ישמור את צאתך ובואך, מעתה ועד עולם. מעתה ועד עולם. הנה לא ינום ולא ישן, שומר ישראל. השם שומרך, השם צלך, הוא יד ימינך. יומם השמש לא יככה, וירח בלילה. השם ישמורך מכל רע, ישמור את נפשך. השם ישמור את צאתך ובואך, מעתה ועד עולם. מעתה ועד עולם. שיר למעלה, אשא עיניי אל הרים, מאין יבוא עזרי.
שיר המעלות, הפותחים